remote meetings are really great, but man, like getting back in person, I guess we're just gonna go ahead and jump into it. Getting back in that's how this show usually goes, so it's
Yeah,
okay.
seems about right.
Getting back into the swing of things and like being in a room with people, for, I mean, probably the most people I've been in a room with in a year.
Yeah,
There really isn't a replacement for that. Like Zoom is great. Zoom is really cool for filling in the gaps, but it's still not 100% there. There's the slight lag, there's the poor video quality, which it separates you from who you're talking to. And there really isn't anything that does replace the in-person meeting, at least for
yeah,
me and for my old fogey boss, as I like to call him. He's an older gentleman from another time, and he's working with all these 30-year-olds, and he's like, pick up the phone and call somebody, damn it.
instead of like texting or I sent an email.
Yeah, he's he's super old school, but I mean he's right. Like there isn't a direct replacement for face-to-face conversations.
Yeah,
There are band-aids, but that's all they are. They're temporary fixes. But man, if I would have, I don't know why I didn't foresee this kind of thing happening back in like February of last year. Because if we look at Zoom stock over 2020, Zoom and DocuSign are the really interesting ones because Zoom. So if we look at, I'll go ahead and share what I'm looking at so that you and the people watching on the YouTubes will be able to see. Did I go to the right one? Hold on. Dang it. Where are you? Here we go. Okay. You see this screen over here?
yeah, I see it.
Yeah, this is quality entertainment. So let's go and that's not how I want to see a chart. Uh Come on, Yahoo. This is why nobody uses your search.
This is the only thing that people use on Yahoo anymore, though. Yahoo Finance. This is literally the only thing I've ever used Yahoo for in the last ever.
Yeah, that's
Like,
actually it's actually the only thing anybody uses them for.
yeah,
Um we actually use them for some of our clients as well in the cannabis industry.
yeah, it's a
But
good way to keep track of it.
if we look right back, if we go back to January 20th, 2020, a brighter time, if you will, we're
Yeah, a
looking
little bit.
at a making everything. Where'd it go? There we go. Why? Okay, there we go. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out how to read this dang thing. So it was $73 a share,
Share.
and if we
Solid
fast
company.
forward to March 16th is about the time that things started going a little wonky. According to the market, it looks like things got a little crazy starting on the 9th, and then things started going up. And so just in 2 months' time, on the 23rd of March, you're looking at Zoom being $151 a share. And then with governments and municipalities not opening up their places over time, here we are in July. It reaches an all-time high at $275 a share, and then boom, on October 12th, it reaches an all-time high that it hasn't gotten back to in such a time, which I'm kind of interested to see why that is. But $559 per share. I mean, that's better than GameStop at its height.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you look at what happened that first 2 months, people were like I'd say about the first yeah, about 2 months, 6 weeks, we're all sitting like around like what's going to happen? Like when are we going to go back?
When's
Like
this going back to
we're all
normal?
yeah, exactly. We're all under the impression like 2 3 weeks we're going to get back in the office. Maybe some people doing working remote, not a big deal. But it was like probably after that time period when we got past like March, April, May, and they were like, crap, this is kind of being it. Then you have the summer. And so if you watch that stock, and like the summer, it's like starts gradually ticking up. And then around October timeframe, you have all schools getting back in or back in remotely. And you have all work like, oh crap, this is it. Like we're back into full swing of things, people at school and work and everything. And now you have to do Zoom for everything. And Zoom made it, they were smart. They did free service because like everyone's going to automatically be automatic adopters. And now even after the pandemic is completely subsided, people are so used to using their software now that the switching costs will be high. And so
do you think that Zoom is the best service right now?
no, there's and I don't use many. The way I get with video conferences, just as long as I stay connected and I can hear, is my main things. And then when I want to share the screen, that's a big piece. Seeing people while you're talking to them isn't as important. Yeah, I get, you're losing a lot of the engagement, but really when it comes down to is I need to be able to speak and hear clearly, and I need to be able to share the screen when I need to. Seeing someone's good, but not essential to have a communication or a conversation.
Yeah. I wonder if, because you're 100% right that it's not needed, but it does help things.
Oh,
and I wonder if augmented reality is going to be closer to the final stage of this remote communication.
Yeah, and I've thought that kind of same thing too, like almost like where you could put on like, I don't know, I was trying to envision like a headset where it made me feel like I was in the room with everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So almost like a, Oculus or something like that, but where I see everyone else and I see us in like a virtual room where I can still look at my computer and do stuff on it, but I can look around and I can look over and see you, and then you're in a virtual like configured like, but your face is there, like I see you as you.
Yeah.
And maybe you have an avatar or whatever, however crazy you want to make it, but your face is on it. I'm like, oh, that's Justin, and oh, that's Jim over there, and there's Karen down there.
Dude, I have a rockin' body. Like I'm going with like a nice 25-year-old tone college, freshly out of college girl, my face right on top.
Freshly out of college girl. Okay. Yeah. I want to have, a normal, like ripped, like 300 body, with the abs. And then I want to have a freaking scorpion tail on the back end, just walking around like it's normal in the middle of a professional meeting.
So I think we just developed our next product, our co-developed
totally
product.
Yeah. We're going to use Oculus, and then you'll have to scan your face to make a 3D image of the thing to catch your expressions and all that. Yeah. And then the Oculus would have to have some sensors so we can get facial movements on the 3D generated.
Yeah, because the headset, it's not a headset, it's a helmet. Yeah. It goes on the whole head, and it's reading what you're doing while you're doing it. It's like,
so you're saying not even using an existing piece of hardware, but creating our own.
Oh yeah, proprietary.
I think that would be it. Like if you're making that, so you're a complete, like you're both the conference software tool and the hardware tool, then yeah, I would say getting a like a almost like those, not a welder's helmet, but like those clear helmet things. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And then having cameras in here that go down and up, so it makes a 3D rendering of your face and catches your expressions.
Yeah.
And then for the eye visor part, it's like I'm looking around in a room, and when I turn my head, I'm turning it to the right and left, and then I can see around the 3D conference room.
Ooh, or it's not even cameras. It's like putting on a ski mask, but it's a ski mask that doesn't make you hot somehow. And it measures all the movements in your face because it's right up on it,
Yeah. I don't know. Gosh, Xbox has that. What's it called? The little Kinect, is it what's called?
Well, the Kinect is their camera thing that they have, and the Microsoft also has Microsoft HoloLens, which is it's just like it's a see-through screen that you put on your face, and it basically projects things on the environment around you.
Oh, okay. So it makes like so it would Like I would see like
Yeah.
demons coming up from the ground.
Yeah,
even
so
if they're
that's the
not
difference
there.
between augmented reality and virtual reality. So virtual
Yeah.
reality, you're putting on a headset that is
And it's
closing you
everything
off.
fake.
It's
Yeah.
closing you off from the real world. Augmented reality is creating a portal in which you're experiencing the real world through an augmented lens.
Oh my gosh, that's really going to mess with people. There'll be a time in life that you're not going to be sure what is real and what's not.
Well, that actually that brings me to my first thing. So, I didn't talk about this, that we were going to talk about this because this is a conversation that I literally had on the way home from my quarterly planning for work today. And me and my buddy were going home, and we both had somewhat rough times over the past we'll say 6 to 12 months, like I'm sure everybody has. But I was like, what if this is all just a simulation? It's all just a video game, and the person who's controlling you just really sucks at it and doesn't have the money for the in-game purchases. You can't buy the V-Bucks, the Fortnite V-Bucks
to make your character better. Like
your player stop, or your gamer stops playing you for a while, and so just everything goes to shit.
So yeah, I've heard that the simulation theory is nothing new, and there's a lot to it, right? And so as I've been like getting more like, I know, kind of contemplating that life thing, here's my latest philosophy on what it is. Sure, it kind of grows along the line of the simulation theory, but what I think is, you hear that cliche, like we are spiritual beings having a physical experience, and I can kind of understand that, and the way I kind of like encapsulate it and kind of understand it is, if we really are like these, and now I'm getting into weird spiritual stuff, but if we really are these spiritual beings having this physical experience and we're eternal, like whatever it is that we came from, wherever it is that we're going to, we're like this thing. It makes sense that we would want to have the earthly experience, because this would be the only way to totally understand time. If you're an eternal being, like if there's no beginning, no end, and whatever it is, there'd be no other way to understand a finite moment in time if time doesn't matter to you. If you're in another dimension where time is fluid, it's both the past, the beginning, and the future all at once. This is the only time where you'd have to forget the concept of eternity, and you would have to have that completely forgotten so you could understand time, because there's no other way you'd understand time if you knew of eternity before. You'd be like, oh, there's nothing. And then we experience time, but in that experience of time, we also experience a lot of other things. Maybe it was kind of like just figuring out after the fact, but we experience love, compassion, anger, all these things that come with finite time, finite ability. Like we have now limitations, and it's the only way we can learn it. That's what I've been kind of wrapping my head around lately, is this idea of like, maybe that's what we're here to understand, is like we're here to have this expression of time, and maybe that's why we are in a simulation. I don't know, just crap I was thinking about lately.
No, that's all very interesting, and that brings me to the next piece that I want to talk about. I want to talk about personality tests. Have you taken like business personality tests?
A lot.
So my CEO, you've met Trevor. He's a very military guy.
Yeah.
And he believes in, like playing to your strengths and whatnot. And so we took like these like hardcore
Myers-Briggs type
personality type tests. So we did the Clifton Strengths. Have you heard of Clifton Strengths?
Yep.
So we did the Clifton Strengths, and we also did the Colby A Index.
I don't think I've done that one.
That one's a little, that one's, I think I heard, is a little bit more popular. It's pretty cool. I do advise both of those, the Clifton Strengths and the Colby A Index. But the interesting thing about them is how unique we all think that we are, and then how we can really be like brought down to reality in the fact that we do line up on, if you look at Clifton Strengths kind of grades you across 34 different strengths, and the Colby A Index really takes four modalities of how you work, and you are on a spectrum of those four. And so like they really do break down your personality in a way that it is spot on and creepy.
Yeah.
Like with how like you're like, oh my goodness, that is me. Like I'm gonna go ahead and share one of mine. I'm gonna share my number one Clifton strength, which is communication. And there is one that I want to read specifically. Where'd it go? Uh, here's one that goes hand in hand with right now. Because of your strengths, you often take part in thought-filled conversations with your colleagues or classmates. Together, you sift through possibilities. You assess the pros and cons of each person's innovative theories, suggestions, or principles. During these verbal exchanges, ideas expand, narrow, and take on new forms. You thrive in settings where everyone feels safe thinking out loud. I'm like, wow, that's really weird because I talk to complete strangers on the internet. I mean, right now I'm not talking to a complete stranger, but
not complete stranger,
for the most time, I mean, I really do. I have like a cold call way about getting my guests where I just hit them up randomly, and sometimes they say yeah, sometimes they just ignore me, which is obviously the more common. But when you do get a complete stranger, it's like, yeah, let's go ahead and talk for an hour and a half, and then you just have like these totally off the wall conversations, and then like we got really deep into it yesterday, and we were talking, and like the combination of my strengths from Clifton was like, um you thrive best when you're able to share your emotionally mature and or emotionally clear and mature thoughts out to the masses or something to that aspect. And I was like, that's freaking weird. Like I just happen to be a weirdo who likes talking into the void that anybody can listen to.
Yeah, so I've done these personality tests actually a lot. Like every program I've been in, like business program, one of the main things they do is like personality. Like that was the funny thing about any leadership class. It was never about how to lead people. It was always about how to manage yourself and figure out yourself first. And I was like, at first I was like, I want to talk, how do I tell them what to do? That's what I want to get. But yeah, it always starts with you. And I've taken those personality tests I think at least 3 times, and it's like different renditions of them. I might have taken that one. I'm not really sure. Taken like the Myers-Briggs. There's a book I read called Lead with Your Strength, and it covers that. I mean, I think that same type of test about strengths, and then how your personality plays, who it plays with best, and then who it plays with worse. Like, so you're able to like see the like where your personality might fit in with someone else, how to deal with people that are like contrary to that personality type. Anyways, pretty cool stuff. But what I found is as I went through each master's program I was in, it was kind of like a little bit different kind of direction I was going in my life too. And that actually impacted the personality type I had. Always kind of the same, but they would have like slightly different insights. Like getting out of the military, it'd say, oh, you love order and stuff like that. And you're like, get around that. I'm like, well, yeah, that makes sense. Like just coming out of the military. And then by the end, by my last, when I was going to Thunderbird, we did a last master's, like, personality leadership class and taking it. It was like almost a lot like yours. It was like, you work best with teams. You get the team to come in. You work great with like creatives, although you're slightly creative, but not as creative, but you work best with creatives. And I was like, oh, well, that's actually kind of good because I feel like what the job, my careers have always been like people that have really good talent and all that. I do an okay job at like corralling them and getting them to focus that creativity. I'm not creative as much, but I like working with the creative types to get the stuff done.
Yeah, it was funny because the thought of a simulation and then seeing how we can be broken down, and my personality fits into these pages. Like there's only like 25 pages here.
Yeah. You're just node model number J3-34.
Pretty much. And so that is how we got here today, or how I got here today, I should say.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll go ahead and do the quick intro. This is This Just In, the show that sounds like a news show, but it isn't a news show, except for today. It is kind of a news show, the first of its kind. This week, I am talking with my brother from another mother, quite literally, Ira Latham.
Hey.
And we're gonna do a month in review. We're gonna review March. So today we're recording this on April 2nd, and you all are listening to this sometime after April 5th, 6th. 6th is Monday, I think.
Well, that and the historical reference of this podcast will be listened to for years and years to come.
Oh, obviously.
So
Obviously. But yeah, so March 2021. Now, you sent some stuff over to me, and I want you to go ahead and get us started off with some lighthearted talk.
Oh my gosh, lighthearted talk. So this is completely random. It has nothing to do with March really, but a little bit time reference and all that. So first off, Star Wars. This is just like something that everyone can relate to because most people know the story. The latest Star Wars with Rey and her whole story, there's a lot to criticize with it. There's a lot of cool stuff with it. Definitely a lot to criticize with it.
Yeah.
But you know what's interesting is they keep recycling this story of the the father or the child of the evil guy that ends up doing the good stuff with it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to make a reference that I think is actually kind of funny that, like, as I was like thinking about it, it's like, so Rey, we know Rey was the granddaughter of gosh, now I'm going to draw a blank, the evil emperor,
Sheev Palpatine.
Yeah, Palpatine. She's granddaughter. When she finds this out, of course, it's traumatic, but she does the right thing.
We're going to pause real fast. That is absolutely the laziest writing of all time. I knew it was going, as soon as they brought JJ back to direct and write the 9th movie, I knew it was coming. Like, I knew it was going to, and I wanted to be proved wrong, and I wasn't. And that goes down as one of my biggest letdowns of the last 10 years.
It had a lot of potential, but they recycled the same story, like when it could have been something cool, or I don't know. Anyways.
That's okay. We're gonna go off on a quick tangent. That's what makes The Last Jedi so beautiful, is because it tried to be so different and so new and so not what we had gotten in 7 prior movies. It was really daring to be different, and it did dare to be different. It was different, and man, people don't like change. They do not, and we'll get back. We'll go ahead and circle back to that in a little bit. But go ahead and continue with your theory.
Yeah. Anyways, so yeah, I would agree. I kind of like The Last Jedi the best out of it. But anyways, get back to this. So here's a connection that I think is kind of interesting, and no matter where you sit on the political spectrum, it's kind of funny. It's a little bit political. So, everyone's finding references between like Star Wars and stuff like this. And I want to try to draw a little reference between Rey and Ivanka Trump. I know, whoa, slow down. But think about it. Like, people view, and this might be like just totally stupid, but as I say it out loud, but like, so people view Trump as this horrible, evil guy. But honestly, like, when you break it down, Ivanka Trump's actually pretty freaking awesome. I have a feeling that Ivanka Trump's going to be on the radar come 2024.
How old is Ivanka Trump? Is she old enough? I mean, she
she's
literally looks the same that since she was like 23. So
yeah,
I don't know.
But I don't know. I think a lot of the Trumps get special medical, like, rejuvenation. They drink the blood of children or something.
Yeah, they're the deep state stuff.
Yeah, yeah. You just lost now you have active enemies against your podcast, by the way.
I have active enemies, and QAnon is literally calling me right now.
Well, Q knows. It is funny though, like how that is so still like cultish, like. And then with the other side, now you have like these people that don't really. Now I'm going really off the bat. When it comes to like Biden and the Trumps and all that type of stuff, people will overlook the crap going on currently. And I know we're going to get into this, but they'll be like, but Trump was so much worse. I'm like, I don't even give a Trump's gone, guys. Trump's gone. Let's talk about stuff that's happening right now. Like, why is that like your go-to? Like, yeah, that's happening. But remember Trump?
To be fair, that was the defense for conservatives against liberals.
Sure. Yep.
When they're like, but he's putting kids in cages, and then all the conservatives were, well, it was a thing under
Biden,
Obama. Obama started it,
and then it is funny, like now that the conservatives are all on the border, be like, but look at this, but look at all these Mexicans in these cages. It's like, where were you guys? I'm glad that your guys are on to the children because of Epstein and all that, but now you care? Like,
well, it's because none of it is genuine. Period.
None of it's genuine, and it's all about the I don't know how to try to describe it. I view it as kind of the same thing as rooting for a sports team from a town you don't even live in, and you're rooting for that team because that's your team. And when they win, you're like, yeah, we won. And you're like, wait a second, no, you didn't. And when someone makes fun of your team, you're like, no, these people I've never met and have no, like, I'm emotionally attached to them. And when you say they suck, you're telling me I suck. It's like, no, they suck at defense, guy. Like they lost like 50-1. Like it's clear. Same thing happens with politics, because for some reason, especially in America, we ascribe the political ideals of a party that we want to align with, which I don't know why anyone would want to align with a specific party.
Especially when there's two. There's two.
There's two. You're multiple ways to look at the world.
I'm not making this about race, but I'm going to use the words white and black. Okay, everybody. Yep. It's not fucking white and black.
No.
There are 50 shades of gray, damn it.
50 Shades of Gray. And how many genders do we have? Well, we have two parties.
You know what? I'm really proud of that statement that I just made, and I just thought of it.
I think that's great. I want the 50 Shades of Gray, because that describes the gross disgustingness of politics. There's 50 shades of it.
Yeah. Oh, it's so like I don't align with either major political party. I'm definitely closer to a libertarian conservative than anything else.
Yeah.
But that's basically a conservative liberal. Like that's what that is. and
it's that whole, fiscally conservative, but tribalism. That's what it comes down to, is this idea where you are your political opinion. Well, guess what? Let's say you think abortion should be outlawed because it's the most wrongest thing ever alive. Well, your opinion is not going to make it outlawed. Like, I'm sorry, but that's just an opinion. And you can have that opinion, and that's great, but me disagreeing with it is not going to change anything either. Like, and for some reason we get so heated, and I know that's a hot button topic, but we get so heated that we can't just disagree. And if I say anything critical of someone that you think is on your side, then it's me attacking you, when it's nothing attacking you. I don't care about you. I care about, hey, this policy, this action sucks. And for some reason, and because of the reason that we're divided politically, where we have to see it through either a red lens or a blue lens, we cannot actually solve problems because we're just pointing at each other saying that you suck. No, you suck worse. We'll look at what you're doing there. We'll look at what you did 4 years ago. Hey, it's the same thing you're doing right now. And it's like, nothing gets done. So kudos to the marketing department of our political parties, because they are playing us perfectly to get us to get motivated.
We're going to circle back to that in a little bit. Keep that in mind. Put a pin in that. Marketing. I work in marketing, so it is something that I notice all over the place now. And we're going to talk about that some more. But we've gone so off topic so many times, so I'm going to let you get back to it. So Ivanka Trump could potentially run in 2024. Go.
Yeah. So like, I think that, she plays I just like that whole, like, kind of, I know that was a really weak connection between her and Ray and all that, but like in my head it worked out. But now that I'm looking at this, I really should have put a little bit more notes on the paper about it. But basically, like this idea of having someone that's not so new. And another thing with, like, when we come up to our presidential race, always we're not good at picking someone completely off the cuff. I'm very, very seldom do we vote for someone that's like random. It's usually someone that's been recycled a few times, gone through the process, and that's just where I see it coming in. If I would put money on it right now, I would say that Ivanka Trump is probably gearing up for some type of run. She's actually very popular, and she's mainly popular because she hasn't been so much in the limelight. She's been a lot on the sidelines, but she's been enough in the limelight to get that recognition and to get stuff done because she's a successful business person. Yeah, sure, it's comes from the family and it comes from the opportunity, but I don't know. I just say keep your eye out for her. I think that's something to keep your eye on.
I think that everybody lost the Star Wars connection, but I
Yeah.
think what you were going for was an evil father
Yes,
leading
that's
to
where I was going.
somebody doing something great, I
Good.
think.
I
Okay.
think that's where it is. You know, it might have been a late night session of like sitting back and be like, yeah, this makes sense, and writing it down. And then once I verbalize it, it falls apart. Story of
Yeah.
my life.
For the people that don't know what he's talking about about marijuana. Okay. Okay. So, news and how we got here.
Oh, okay. So this is another like session of me just like kind of thinking through stuff about like just the state of media, right? Because I've been getting really frustrated with both social media and the fact that media can be so completely dishonest, and the idea like, oh, media is biased, and I've heard that a lot, but and then I've heard like some arguments like, no, it's not biased at all, it's straight up partisan, and I would agree more with that, is that media is straight partisan. There's no like bias. It's this is our side and this is what we're advertising for because we're getting back into marketing. We know our audience, and that's all we want to focus on is our audience. So, and the reason why they're able to get here, and I kind of want to go back and try to put in the history of news and the media. Well, first off, it was, you know, the evening news, and it was newspapers. So you as a consumer would have to purchase a newspaper to be able to get the news to your house. I'd had a newspaper route growing up. I don't know if you ever helped out with that.
You know what? I remember you getting up early to do
Yeah.
it. I don't think I ever helped or I was more of a let people do their own thing.
Yeah, sleeping and not
So
doing
I was
the
more of a
newspaper
sleeping
route.
at 4 instead of delivering newspapers kind of kid.
So first off, that business model, the newspaper route, is crazy that it existed. I mean, imagine today you have a bunch of underage kids that you're paying to go deliver your paper, and then
How
guess
was
what?
that legal?
Collecting the payment for said paper, sometimes check, sometimes cash. That was their
I
business
have a
model.
question. Was that actually ran by the newspapers or was that ran by like a distributor?
I think it's a distributor. So the newspaper gets it to the distributor, and the distributor runs it like that. But at least that's what it was up in Washington State when we did it. Like
Yeah.
we had the person that does the areas, that manage the areas, that's like your contact. And you get set up with a route. You get that route, you're able to drop off the papers. You get the papers dropped off at your home. You set them up, you take them out, you drop them off every 2 weeks, every month, something like that. You go to all your customers and you collect payment. So sometimes it's cash, sometimes it's whatever. And you're just like, you know, 12, 15, whatever year old kids. Sometimes adults did it, but that's how you not only did your distribution, but also collected it. Well, then came, you know, so getting back to paying for your media like that, if your newspaper started writing some off the wall crap that was just like you felt like this is just so biased and so stupid, you would have stopped paying for it. Like there's no way you would pay for something that you felt was just a load of crap. You're like, why am I paying for this news? And so that's why they had to have a pretty good balance, because they had to bring as many customers as possible.
Mm-hmm.
That was their business model.
Yeah.
Well, then came the 24-hour news cycle, cable news, and that started changing things. So now it wasn't all the stories in the evening. It was, how can we keep their attention during the peak hours? How can we keep their attention during non-peak hours? We have a lot more content to fill now, so we have to be able to repeat it. So it has to be very hot buttony type issue, stuff that doesn't really matter. We have to put in a lot of fillers. So that started changing things. Then you fast forward to the revolution of, you know, the internet, and now it became the focus is on clickbait and being able to get people's eyeballs on it, because now you're not selling to that customer, you're selling to the advertiser. The advertiser wants the person's eyeballs. The only way you're going to get that person's eyeballs is if you're having something outrageous, like, hey, a dog got bit by 12 people at the park today. What the F is that? You click on it. Like, instead of like, hey, your property taxes might be going up, and this is why, because of this bill and this bill and this bill in your local election. Sorry, that's not clickbait when I see it come across my screen.
You want to hear something interesting? So while you've been talking, I was looking up the beginning of the 24-hour news cycle, and I found this little snippet. Now, mind you, I want to get back to what I just found out is that I was trying to look up the dip of not college news, cable news channels since Trump left. Every single article that I clicked on wanted me to buy. And I'm like, no, this is the internet. I don't pay for porn. I'm not paying to read your words. No.
Yeah.
But I did get to something interesting. Now, this is from Wikipedia and could very well be complete crap. So feel free to fact check me, the internet. But it says, although all news radio operated for decades earlier, the 24-hour news cycle arrived with the advent of cable television channels dedicated to news and brought about a much faster pace of news production with an increased demand for stories that can be presented as a continual news with constant updating. The O.J. Simpson murder case in 94 and 95 created the 24-hour news cycle and ushered in the era of cable news. I found that really interesting because it really has just built on that outrage, because that's what was happening in the OJ murder case, and everything that led up to it. It was outrage. It was, this guy clearly did it. Yeah. Everybody was watching just to see, everybody loves to see somebody fall from grace. So that's what everybody's watching for. And then
it got much deeper than just fall from grace.
What's even better is he got away with it. So now you have outrage on a totally different scale.
Yeah. And you have, because of the symbolism of OJ being this black guy that was in white communities, and even he can get accused of it. And so now they're like, oh, well, now, and that was right around the time of, was that before or after Rodney King? I feel like that was after Rodney King.
I think Rodney King was 92.
That's right. 92, you had the LA riots.
That's the LA riots, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then you had OJ. And then you had this, it's like this, like we were all talking about the gorilla in the room of racial issues and racial tension.
Did you
and all that
seriously just say the gorilla?
Listen, I said it after the fact. Listen, it's an expression that's been used for a long time. It has nothing to do with what you're trying to say it does. And I realized after I said it, I'm like, oh crap. Gosh.
The elephant in the room.
Elephant in the room. Only, you know what? You're the racist one for even thinking that. You son of a bitch. Jeez.
If I didn't want us to get death threats and whatnot, I would go ahead and edit that out. But I'm just
don't edit it out, because I'm sick of people apologizing for stuff, even if it's a slip, or if it's like if it's a mistake like that where I'm just saying stuff and someone could take it wrong. Well, I'm sorry you took it wrong. Like, if I'm intending to be racist, call me out on it. Like, if I'm saying racist crap and calling out people just based off their skin or culture, call me out on it. But if I say something and I say gorilla in the room, and I happen to be talking about OJ Simpson, and it's not in all me making a racial joke about OJ Simpson, F you.
And he was a strong son of a bitch. Let's not forget that.
The guy, I mean,
Heisman Trophy winner.
That alone deserves him at least a mistrial.
I'm not saying that he should have gotten away with it for being that good at football, but dude, I don't know if anybody's been as good as the Juice.
He's the Juice.
I'm just saying.
He's the Juice. Like, come on. And Kim Kardashian really has a lot to thank OJ for. No one would know who Kim Kardashian was if it wasn't for OJ Simpson.
Have you seen Joe Rogan's comedy special on Netflix? I think it is.
No, I got to check it out though.
Oh, it might not be on Netflix. I think it's Joe Rogan's Stranger Times, or no, Rocky Mountain High. That's it. And he's like, to explain Kim Kardashian to aliens, you first have to explain American football, and then you have to explain who OJ Simpson was.
And then you'd have to explain the history of slavery to understand why OJ Simpson's case was a big deal.
And you have to explain, or he also goes in to talk about how everybody that worked on the case died of cancer. And I was like, oh, that's weird.
That is weird. I didn't know that.
Like everybody, Rob Kardashian, Johnny Cochran, there was like 3 other people, and they all died of cancer.
Man.
I mean, I'm not laughing about the loss of life. I am just laughing about the ironic coincidence.
Yeah. Like, no, it's completely natural causes. Don't worry about it.
But the 24-hour news cycle. Sorry, I like to get people off of their train of
thoughts.
No,
I like it because that's where you find all the gems along the way, like, you know, Gorilla in the Room and stuff.
And they're both in the jungle. I give it to you.
I get it. Well, actually, elephants aren't in jungles. They're like in the plains of Africa.
I'm pretty sure there's like elephants in jungles somewhere.
I'm sure there's, and like India, maybe Thailand. I don't know.
And like, haven't you seen George of the Jungle? There's an elephant in that and gorillas.
And that's pretty factual.
And that's in Africa.
Straight.
Wait, is it in Africa or is it in South America?
I think it's probably based in Africa. There's gorillas in it.
Oh, they have freaking guides that speak Swahili. Of course.
It's Africa. That's right. Yeah.
Oh man, that movie holds up. If you have Disney Plus, go watch yourself George of the Jungle.
Great. I think I should, because it's been a while, and I like what's his name? What's the actor name?
Brendan Fraser.
Brandon Fraser. I don't know why I forgot that. That guy's great, and I like him. And everyone's criticizing him because he became normal, and I'm like, he's a cool guy.
He became normal, as in he just stopped being in movies?
He stopped being in movies. I think also his career kind of went down. I'm not exactly sure what history is, but people were like I don't know if you're not on TikTok, but people I don't know why it is, but there was like a trend for a while making fun of him because he got normal, a little bit fat, and it's like, why are you busting on him? The guy did a movie. Did you do anything? No, you made a TikTok criticizing someone that actually went down and did something. F you.
I am reaching out to Brendan Fraser right now to come on my show and defend himself.
That would be a great idea. I wonder if he would do that. That'd be kind of cool.
I don't know. But wait. Nope, that's a satire page. These satire pages get me every time. It's so I've been extremely fortunate that people who have blue check marks every now and then do check their messages, and I get to have conversations with people that I never thought I'd get to. But I think Brendan Fraser is a definite possibility. I'm going to put some weight behind that.
Hey, I like him. I'd listen to it. That's this Brendan Fraser. Come on, it's like the 90s.
So tell me,
more 90s than Brendan Fraser, I think.
So tell me, back in 1934, when you were going into the pyramids, did you know you were going to release the mummy?
Why did you let them to take out those what was that jewel on the very top? Oh, that one guy, remember that he grabbed the top of the jewel off of the top of the pyramid? Whatever happened to that jewel?
Dude, oh my goodness, that may be the funnest podcast idea I've ever had in my life, where I interview actors and ask them questions based on their characters.
Like you're acting as if it was like a documentary.
Or I'm having a podcast with those characters from the movies.
Yeah.
That could be hilarious.
That could be a funny skit, side podcast to this podcast, where you have episodes of where you're like, and we're interviewing the documentary. We're acting like it's a real documentary and all that. And they're like, it's a movie, right? Or maybe even they're playing along like they're the actual character. That would be fun too.
Either way, it would be funny. Where they're like, you don't think that I was alive in 1935, do you? But then also, if they just rolled with it, I think it would be hilarious. That
would be awesome. That'd be an interesting podcast.
Were you really bummed when you and Rachel Weisz's character got divorced in the third movie or second movie? I don't remember the stories of the Mummy movies.
I know, we'd have to go refresh ourselves,
dude.
Or if you could interview Bruce Willis and the actress chick from Fifth Element. I don't know why that popped in my head, but Fifth Element was
Mila Djokovic.
Yeah. Yeah. But if you could interview both of them,
I hear that Bruce Willis is the biggest dick.
I probably could see that. I mean, come on, the man was in Die Hard.
The man was in Die Hard.
It would be hard to
get
have an ego lowered after you are Die Hard. Like
yeah,
you are.
I killed Hans Gruber.
Right? Can't do anything with that.
I gotta write down that idea because
interviewing. And you could even start with like B-list celebrities, like that are like movies that aren't really that big of a deal that most people forgot about, but it's like that would be fun too.
Like I'll interview Kevin Smith as Silent Bob.
Yeah.
And so he just like everything is yes or no answers with him is and Oh, that's funny.
Like that would be a great idea for a podcast. Someone that doesn't talk. My guest today is Helen Keller. That would be pretty quick podcast.
How did Helen Keller's parents punish her?
I don't know.
Left the plunger in the toilet. I think I butchered that joke. I think there's a funnier way to say it, but it's still funny to say fucked up shit.
Yeah, it's pretty funny though.
And to think that this all started with talking about the 24-hour news cycle.
Yeah. Well, Helen Keller, plungers, toilets, news cycle.
But the news cycle is what has gotten us here where we are now, because you can't escape it. Like nobody really does. I mean, that's not true. There are people who do, and you know what? They are happier than everybody else.
If you can stay off of news and just news in general, because it's designed to agitate you. It's designed to
it's designed to elicit a response.
Yes, emotional response.
Yeah.
So like and they do a really good job. And it comes back to, the idea of like marketing. And that's what really opened my eyes when I did my first marketing class. And I was like, just learning about stuff. And I'm like, I started seeing marketing practices in everything from religion to politics to everything that gets done. It's like, oh, it's all about how you frame it, market it, sell it, and motivate people to act. Like that's all it is about.
Yeah, like that's what I wanted to talk about this a little later, but I'll just go ahead and talk about it right now. Was that COVID had the best marketing, and what I mean by that is that the way that the 24-hour news cycle, the conservative media and the liberal media both took the same thing and were able to blow it up in two opposite directions. One being, oh my God, this is the end of all time. Everybody's going to die. We're going to have 10 million dead by October. And then the other side, which is, no, it's the flu. And how we saw that grow, and how this side that was saying, oh my God, it's the worst thing ever, has continually come this way to a point, or to a certain amount, without ever acting like they're backtracking on what they said prior. Does that make sense?
No, yeah, I know exactly what you're saying.
And then all these people over here still stayed like way over here.
Oh, yes.
It's the flu.
They haven't come anywhere close. They've had family members that have died from it. They're still like, nope, it's the flu. They died from a car accident. It's like, no, they literally died from COVID. Like, nope, they got in a car accident 4 years ago. It's because of that.
And
like,
the massive amount of money that was put behind it. Like, man, like I never liked the medical guy. I don't like saying his name, but
sorry.
Did you say it?
Yeah.
Did you say his name? It just seems like it's so comical of a name that it's not even real. Like, really? Your name's Fauci?
the character, him as an individual, seems too ridiculous to be real. Like, so here's what, like, this is why I just don't think there's any legitimacy to even listening to him anymore. Anyways, I'm like, what? First off, why aren't we just listening to the CDC? Like, who is this guy to like just one individual? No, like CDC is a board of professionals that are in infectious disease that know all this stuff. Fauci is just some dude that hangs around the White House and sits in on meetings. And like, oh, in my experience from not being in the medical field for the last 40 years or whatever it is, and not actually seeing patients. Like,
do you think that there is no real difference between a politician and Fauci?
No, there clearly isn't, because he first gets out saying you don't need a mask, don't need a mask. And then he comes back, it's like, no, we all need masks. And he's like, well, I said that because I was worried that there's going to be a run on masks. Okay, well,
so you've already proven to us that you're willing to lie to us
for our protection.
For our protection.
And then did you ever hear him getting interviewed by who was it? Ted Cruz. And I'm not always a fan of Ted Cruz, but when he was talking to Fauci, he's like, okay, you're saying, and this was right around the time of all the riots after George Floyd and all that. He's like, you're saying that protests and all that tend to like large groups, everyone has to stay separated. Would you say that we should start saying that we shouldn't have these protests going on? And then he freezes up and he doesn't answer it. He's like, it's not my time to say. He's like, but you're saying we can't be in school. We can't be in any great gatherings over 6 people. We have to wear a mask. We have to stay separated. Would you say that we should not have these protests going on? That's not for me to say. He starts like total
backpedaling.
And I'm like, okay, well, then what are you good for? Like, if you're not good to tell us like how to protect, and I don't know, because they've been even like having evidence that minorities are the biggest at risk from COVID, yet they're not telling them to not gather in these protests. Like, listen, we understand you're upset, but no kidding, your communities are most at risk. Not saying a single thing, because they're using it as a political pawn to get what they want. So he's a politician. Sorry, I got a little upset with that one.
Well, no, like, I mean, I get it. Like, I'm definitely not like a COVID denier. I'm a COVID realist. Yep. It still boggles my mind to this day that you never saw anything on the news about doing things for your immunity, exercise, vitamins, make sure to get outside in front of the sun for an hour. Like, these are 3 things,
and like
everybody has the access to do, except for people in Seattle about the sun. But for the most part, everybody can do. And you had to hear it from Joe Rogan. And I don't think that Joe Rogan is an unintelligent person. There's a lot of people who do think that. And so because they think that, and because they plaster him as an alt-right platformist who is just trying to get his guns and try to down with all the liberals. It's like, have you ever listened to the guy talk? He's more liberal than he lived in California for 30 years. I mean, that's a made up number. I don't know how long he lived there. I want to say it was probably closer to 20, 25, because I know he lived out in Boulder, just up the road from me for a short amount of time as well. But again, a very liberal area. Like, he's extremely liberal, and that's okay. Like, yeah, he talks to people who have different opinions than him. That's okay. Like, that's the most,
not only okay, but it's so important.
Yeah, it's the best thing about communication, is talking with people that you don't agree with, but you can learn. You can realize the fault in your beliefs, and then you can solidify the fault in theirs. Like,
or
communicating with people you disagree with is the most paramount thing that we can do today as people, as Americans, as however you want to say it. Like, that is the number one thing, that if you want to become a more informed individual, and you want to be able to back your own beliefs up more, argue them with somebody who sees it the other way. If you want to, maybe, I mean, I don't know if this is a common thing, but I love finding out that I'm wrong about things, and like finding out that I believe something for so long. I'm like, oh my goodness, this changes everything. This, because this happened
Freeing.
and this happened to be a lie. Like I'll that's a tough one. I don't know if I want to talk about that. But it's when you realize that there's one thing in the tower that is your belief system, it makes you look at everything else. It makes you think. It gives you critical thinking skills to where I believed this for so long, and this piece right here, I know is complete bullshit now. I know that this is bullshit. What else? Because this piece is all the way down here at the bottom of this tower. What else that got stacked on top of this is also bullshit. Like I looked, it was actually my freshman year of college, of the 2 years that, or the 1.5 years that I went to college. And it was honestly the best thing I ever did was take a philosophy class. And it talked about breaking down the pillars of your belief systems. And granted, I'm sure that they did it for their own nefarious reasons, as you can see in the college system today. It is like I said, I am a liberal a liberal a conservative libertarian. There we go. Blah, blah, blah. Tongue twisters, liberals, conservatives, libertarians. So hard to keep everything straight. But it was that class that really got me to start, questioning everything that I'd been taught prior. And I was able to, break down my thought processes and, what I thought was true from that point on. And it all started with just, you have these three pillars, and that is essentially what has built up your belief system. Pillars are: one, your parents and family; two was your schooling; and three,
Religion.
I don't think it was religion. I want to say maybe it was something that encompassed religion, like community.
Oh, culture,
Something,
maybe.
community culture.
Family is kind of culture.
It was something. It was something like that,
Mm-hmm.
and it really helped me realize that, just because I heard a certain thing every day from the time that I was a baby doesn't make it true. My I'm not attacking my mother when I say this, but my realizing that, oh, maybe my mom doesn't know everything. And you know and that's not a slight to her, but that's, as a child, like you look up at your parents know everything. You're literally learning everything from them, like when you're a baby, a toddler, into being a child, and then a teenager and everything. Like, but in those formidable years, it's, hey mom, what's this? Dad, what's this? How does this work, mom? How does this work,
truth.
Dad?
Yeah.
And that really builds who you are and how you think. And that's not a bad thing, but I think that it's good to become aware of that. And man, I don't even, so we got on this by talking about talking with people with different beliefs.
Yeah.
Different beliefs than yourself. So it really is the best thing that you can do today. And it seems that the only thing that people want to talk about today with people that are different is they want to talk about the differences and not trying to find any common ground, or nobody wants to find out that they've been wrong. And that's a scary thing to find yourself in a world that people want to radicalize the general masses. You are becoming a pawn at that point.
Well, and it's like I think there's something about it also that gets you psychologically, like it gets you that purpose behind like my idea. I now subscribe to this way of thinking, and this way of thinking is right because I'm right. And if you tell me I'm not right, then you're an idiot because I'm right. Because I have the ego in me, and my ego will not allow me to evaluate what I'm thinking is correct. And I think it would be nice if somehow we could open up the door and everyone have your belief is not actually you. Your belief is something that you're holding on to at the moment, and you're like, hey, this is keeping me steady right now, but this might not be my go-to thing forever. But right now this works. And then you have to like constantly kind of evaluate that, like, oh, well, maybe this doesn't work for me so much anymore. Maybe my beliefs starting to shift. And to do that, you have to lower your own ego. Like maybe what I thought was great, like you were saying, what I thought was great ends up being full of crap. And so you have to lower your own ego to say, I can be wrong. That's really hard to do for a lot of people because
That was by far by far my biggest criticism of Trump
yeah, yep,
is I can't take you serious as a human being if you can't admit
can't
that
say
you're wrong. And the thing that really like made it louder than words to me was um kind of early on in the whole COVID thing, and they were talking about possibilities, like things that they could try, and he talked about disinfectants and bleach or something to that effect. And the fact that it was a guy who was spitballing, just like I do when I close the door and I'm with my team and we need to, work on a marketing idea. We say the stupidest shit,
oh,
and
totally.
you're literally taking everything you have and you're throwing it at the wall and
Yep.
you're seeing what sticks.
And that's really good for in that setting.
And it's
Not when
okay.
you're in a conference,
Oh
not
no,
when
no,
you're like
no.
talking to the nation.
No, no. I think differently on that.
Okay.
I think that that's okay. But when you can't admit that that's what you're doing, that's the
Oh,
problem.
I see
Because he
that.
said
Yeah.
no, that was taken entirely out of context. I was saying it as a joke.
Yeah.
No, you weren't. You were spitballing. You were taking everything you could find, you were throwing it at the wall and you were trying to see what sticks. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Because we were like, the thing about
That's
COVID is
true.
that it was something unlike we had ever experienced in this modern era of technology. In like
Technology. Yeah.
even when H1N1 happened, the social media was not where it is today.
No.
And
And the social media aspect of it actually amplifies the impact of the disease because it causes the panic. And the panic is not knowing, not knowing.
yeah, and panic buying is my favorite buying.
Yeah.
That's honestly what kept me in, having a job during COVID. So thank you for all the fear, cable
Everyone
news.
freaked out. Like, oh man. But yeah, no, I would agree with you on that one. Like I think behind closed doors, the guy's probably a really good negotiator because, well, obviously he was a good negotiator because we were getting stuff happening that didn't make sense if you just looked at like what the headlines were,
No,
like the whole treaties, the peace treaties. So I'm like, something's happening behind closed doors, and I'm okay with it because we're not going to war. Like I'm like, hey, if we can keep Americans from going over to other countries and blowing up brown people, I don't know why we like to do that so much, but that's what we do. We never
well,
fight white
no, the
people anymore. It's
liberals
always
don't
brown
like to
people.
do that. They don't do that. They definitely didn't bomb Syria 30 days.
30
Oh, you
days.
know what? I'm getting word. Hold on.
Hold
No,
on. Hold
no.
on.
30 days in, he did bomb Syria. Okay. Damn, I don't know what to say now.
Like that was my main thing of like against Trump is all that stuff. But I was like, listen, and that's why I voted for Trump this last time is because behind closed doors, I don't know what was happening. I didn't like him. I still don't really like him. But for some reason, we weren't going to war, and we were things were doing okay. But yeah, the guy as the individual, I'm okay with him being gone.
Is there a more um do you think that there is a more interesting podcast than Joe Rogan talking to Trump for 3 hours?
Oh my gosh. I think that should actually be the debate from now on. Like there should be no debate. Debates are such a waste of time. You get nothing from them. It
Oh my
doesn't change
goodness.
anyone's mind. All it
No.
says is maybe they might mess up in that short amount of time that they're supposed to say, this is what I'm going to do for the entire world, because we're not just a nation. We're over everything.
We're a world
And
leader.
you're going
Yeah.
to give me 3 debates with this other guy that's going to tell me how dumb I am. And we're going to spend most of our time fighting back and forth. We're going to talk very little about policy and mostly about how much that guy's an idiot and how much I'm really smart. So
Come on, man.
come on, man. Oh man, will you shut up? Actually, that was actually probably my favorite part
It
of that
was
whole debate. I was
hilarious.
like, all right, Joe, you got him there. Thank you. But like seriously, sitting down with Joe Rogan for at least 3 hours, you're going to get into like you're going to know who that person is.
You're gonna
Way
know.
better
You're
than
gonna know what they stand for, and
no talking points.
you
No
are going
person.
to have a wonderful thing to hold them against
Yes.
when they start making decisions.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay. Joe Biden said he was going to try to get everybody out of all exterior countries, but
now we're deploying and we're opening more bases in the Philippines. What? Like
it really, and that's why it'll never happen, which is the thing that sucks about it.
Yeah.
But I don't think that there is a more what's the word when when like a bunch of people want something. What's the word for that? Not looked forward
Demand.
to.
It's consumer demand.
I don't even know if I know
Will
the
of the
word I'm
people.
trying to think of, but I don't think that there's a more sought after podcast than that, because I think that it would be wonderful for the people who think that Trump walked on water to see
Just the
the faults
BS.
in their stars.
Mhm.
And it would also, it would be, I mean, there's always going to be the talking heads on CNN, MSNBC, and they're always going to just highlight
Of
the
course.
out of context and things like that. But it would definitely open up the people who were in the middle, that either A, voted for him because they didn't like Hillary the first time, or Joe Biden the second time, or vice versa, for the people that voted for Biden because they didn't like what they saw in the first 4 years, that had voted for him previously.
Yeah.
And I think that it would be it this is probably why it will never happen, but it would be a very humanizing experience.
Yeah. And what's interesting is like you have to be so strategic in those types of campaigns that almost if you're exposing yourself to get off of the talking point more, it's considered a liability rather than an asset. But I think that if a president was to do that, it would force the other candidate to have to do that.
Yeah.
But actually, maybe not, because like if a president did that and then there was material I could then use against him, why would I put myself out there? You know what I mean? If I'm his competitor. So it's like we would have to force them, be like, nope, you both have to do it. You both have to send 4 hours, and you can talk about 3 talking points that you want to talk about. The rest of it is going to be prepared stuff by the interviewer.
And neither one of you are going to have any idea what those questions are.
Yeah. No,
you just have to get
this.
You're going to have to know your platform from start to finish. I know that's expecting a lot from people.
Well,
but
you would expect that someone running things would know what they're talking about and not have to constantly refer back to their notes.
Well, what's fun, one of my favorite things, one of those like word on the street video, like gotcha videos, where they take all these policies that are of one party and they say them to people.
Actually, that's not that party, that's this person. And you're like, oh.
I think my favorite was, I think it was actually they were taking Joe Biden quotes from the messed up stuff that he has said over his illustrious career as a politician.
Last week.
And they said they started it off. Do you think that it's really racist when Trump said this? And then they
Yep.
quoted Joe Biden. And then they're like, yeah, it's extremely racist. And then they go, well, how do you feel knowing that it's actually Joe Biden that said that?
They're like, well, Joe Biden is another story, but like I remember hearing like the responses, like, and it's funny, like you can tell when a person's partisan when they're like, yeah, well, he has problems, but Trump's worse. Like it's like I love that as the response. Like it's like why can't you just admit like, listen, this person sucks. I don't have to point at the other one saying they're worse. That person sucks. This sucks about them. That sucks about them. What I like about them is this aspect and that aspect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
It's funny.
I don't know. Funny is the word I would use. I
It's
watch a lot of
we are a
comedy.
reality show for aliens, and that's why it's funny, because that's the only thing that would make sense is the most ridiculous stuff about society, politics, what people do in general. We're a reality show for aliens.
How long do you think it would take for aliens just watching us to start to understand our motives?
We don't even understand our motives sometimes.
I agree with you to a certain extent. I think that the partisanness of the American public and the international world, for that matter, because the whole stupid American thing is very rooted in pop culture and all of this. And
well, we're very satire and we like to make fun of ourselves. When we do stupid American, it's usually Americans teasing Americans about being stupid to foreigners. But
I used to think that until I'm in a bunch of different like Facebook groups, Reddit, groups, different things. And there is a lot of unironic stupid American stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's comical because obviously, like, some of the points they make are not invalid. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not above saying that we do some stupid shit at times. I mean,
well, I mean, think about American culture and think about what we get criticized for and then what we do now. So liberals are big on criticizing like the American policy of going into other countries and manhandling how they handle things and telling them how to do things. That's American, right? We don't want to be like that. Meanwhile, Black Lives Matter starts up and it's all ran by white liberals. It seems like white liberals are way more upset than any black people. They're white liberals are the ones saying defund the cops. Like people that live in the ghetto, they're not saying defund the cops. They're saying let's fix the cops. Let's not defund them because I don't want to get killed. Like no, white liberals are going in there telling them what they need to be upset about. So American, we are dumb. We are dumb.
No, it's true. Like I worked in some of the worst neighborhoods in the country. I worked in the zip code that had the highest murder rate per capita in the nation at the time in Rochester, New York. And it's true. Like I was literally installing alarm systems that were connecting people's homes to the police. That's what the alarm systems did. Like that was their selling point. And do you know where we did the most sales? We did the most sales in the roughest neighborhoods because those people felt unsafe.
Yeah.
And they felt unsafe for a reason, because whether it was the government that was allowing, unrest in these areas, I don't know how they ended up cleaning it up, because I actually heard recently that Rochester's like super freaking nice now. I was like,
good.
Man, I'd love to go back. But maybe it was all those alarms I installed. But
doing God's work out in Rochester.
The people do want safety. And to answer the question before it pops out of everybody's mouth, yes, like I'd say 70% of the people whose homes that I was installing in were Black, African American, however you want to say it. Like they were, the group of people that the media would like you to think wants to defund the police. But you're right, they don't. That's another great example of the partisanness of the media, is that the defund the police thing wasn't as bad as everybody was making it out to be. What it was it was talking about maybe, just maybe, for these instances that cops don't need to go to, maybe we don't send cops. Maybe we have other types of community outreach that can help this. And I don't have the numbers or the, you know, exact locations that we're planning to do that right in front of me, but that was a decent amount of some of a lot of these places that were trying to do that part. It was not, no, this money needs to go to roads instead of the police. It was, okay, the police don't need to be showing up at, you know, these types of calls. They need to be handling actual dangerous people, not people that are in a vulnerable place that could be construed violent to an outsider coming into their domain. You know what I mean? Like whenever
Yeah.
you're,
So the complaint would be like the idea or the concept of over policing. Like maybe if we have too many police on the street, they're going to find too many problems. And then that's just going to cause like almost a harassment atmosphere. Like they're just looking for stuff,
well,
anything they can.
when you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
That's true.
You know, like when there's this many cops, you have to pay for that with this many busts, this many traffic tickets. I mean, you can say that there's no such thing as quotas all day long, but that shit is real. Police quotas are a real thing. And you know, I don't remember how I got onto this, but man, total brain fart.
Yeah, totally. We're going down a hole here.
But
So like
that's how you know you're having a good conversation.
Yeah,
When you
right.
when you
You're
don't
like, we're
remember
supposed
the
to stay
initial
somewhere.
when you don't remember the initial discussion that caused the tree to go the entire way that it went.
Well, if we're cool, let me try to change and maybe this will kind of lead back into it anyways,
Yeah.
but I have a kind of like a topic idea that I've been kind of like, it's kind of like a thought that I've been going over in my head more of these late night sessions of sitting around thinking about stuff. But like this idea of the role of historical role of government and the historical role of like religion and the other side, like they're almost like a yin and yang. And I was kind of thinking of this concept. Mm-hmm. So government starts out being very authoritarian, whatever. You have like kings, you know, the main guy that controls the area, and he's the top dog. Religion kind of came in and said, well, no, you're not the top dog. God over here is. You gotta please him. Sure, you're running shows here, but you got to run shows there. And it kind of helped balance out. And there was times when government and church overlaid. And then there's times that the church was way stronger, like with the Catholic Church, it just had all the power to like wage wars and crap. And the people in charge of the Catholic Church at that time, or the church as it was, were, you know, the people that were running around almost like the people that would run around today and tried to have like these, like they would use the organization and the structure and all that to manipulate what they want. And in much of the same way, it's kind of happening now, where we're replacing that concept of religion with like leftist ideals. It seems like
woke culture
canceled because it's offensive. Like, what the hell? Where did that come from? Like, who has ever said that canceling stuff because it's offensive is a good thing? Like that, to me, that's stupid. Like, you should let the free market decide it, but you know, whatever. But it's just funny, like this idea of like, you know, this back and forth, and now leftists, like the leftist ideals or leftist like agitators and all that, are a lot like the religious zealots of yesteryear that were like, you know, doing witch hunts and all that type of stuff. Now it's the leftists that would be, if they were back then, they would have been the religious zealots because they could control people. And that's how they're doing it.
I don't know who said it, but somebody said it on Rogan at one time, but the woke culture has become the religion of the 21st century. It really has. Like, you don't have to believe in God. You just have to believe in injustice, which injustice exists. It does.
You're never
And
gonna fix it. Sorry, guys.
that doesn't mean that you
Nothing you
shouldn't
can do to fix it.
try.
You shouldn't
But
try, but you're never gonna fix
but
it.
it's very easy to get upset about something and then think that you can change it by getting somebody to shut up. Like I understand, like that's, I guess that's the most scary thing about the woke culture, the woke system, or whatever you want to call it, is that I understand where they're coming from. And that's the part that, that's the part that nobody wants to talk to, so, or talk about. But I mean, I'll use an example from our very religious family and upbringing. My mom hated, growing up, what was it, Nestle, because Nestle had developed a formula for babies that they were saying was better for babies than breast milk, and it caused a negative effect in the babies in the US, and so they basically sold it all to third world countries in Africa. And it was really messed up. And her response to that was a boycott. So she wasn't quiet about it. Like she spoke it to anybody who would listen. Like if anybody would ask, oh, why didn't you have one of the, did Nestle make Butterfinger? I think Nestle made Butterfinger because it was delicious and I always wanted them and my mom wouldn't buy me them. I had to get them elsewhere. And that is why I got so fat. but
Dang
but
it, Mom.
she, she believed that it was a bad, evil company, and so her response to that was to boycott. And that's the early stages of canceling. So no side of this political spectrum is above doing it.
Yeah.
What you're seeing now especially is you're seeing rubber band effect of so many things have been, quote unquote, canceled on the right by people from the left, that now anytime somebody from the left does anything outside of their own little walled garden that they have made for themselves, like then the right's going, and then they try to get them canceled. I'm like, that's not how this works. An eye for an eye leaves everybody blind, and that's not a good way to go about things. But and that goes back to what I was saying at the beginning, is like I said, I can understand how being upset with somebody because they said something, they said faggot, they said retard, they said, I'm not going to say the N word because, I'm not going to cross that bridge. But, like, I get it. I understand. Like if you are a part of one of those classes and or you are very closely associated with one of those classes, that pisses you off, and you want there to be a repercussion for these, people that you see as evil. It goes back to what you were talking about. You mentioned something about abortion, and you kind of were talking about, like, if you, I don't remember exactly how we were talking about it, but it got me thinking. There's a comic sketch, or not a sketch, but a stand-up bit by somebody. I actually know who it is, but I'm not going to say because he might have gotten canceled in the last 5 years. But it was really funny, and he broke it down. Like, if you believe that a heartbeat in a woman is life, then yeah, you are killing a life inside of another person. That's horrible.
Yep.
Like that, if that's what you believe that that is a living being, and then somebody is going in and just snuffing that out. That's horrible. That's deplorable, to use some fun words. Like, that is a terrible thing. But it's the realization that not everybody has the exact same beliefs about everything. Like, I will always call my friends faggot because I I will never call a gay person a faggot, and I will never use a negative connotation like that to a gay person. Like, intent fucking matters.
Yeah, that's I think what we need to get to is we need to like look for the intent first. Like if you say something that really is offensive to me, like you insult me like to my core, and I'm like, if I know you're doing it on purpose to get me, then I'll get upset at you. But if you're saying it and you say it in passing because you're used to like making fun of some dude that likes to wear blue t-shirts and stuff, but I take it really personal, it's my responsibility to inquire to make sure that I understand where you're coming from. If
Yeah.
I get offended by something that you didn't mean to offend mean offense, and I get really upset, that's on me now. Like it's not on you as much. I have to like say, hey, Justin, and maybe we have to be smart about it, but I got to take you aside and be like, you said this, it really kind of bothered me. Were you trying to insult me here and all that? Like, what were you trying to do there? Now, intent, situation, all that stuff. You should be socially intelligent to be able to read cues pretty quickly, but it's to it's much better to first find out that intent than to jump to something quickly. Like I do it the same thing with all these, like it's funny, like I'm kind of watching the Floyd Brown case, and I kind of know where it's all. I feel like it's going to get acquitted, but it's just interesting to watch to see how it handles. But like as we're finding out all the details for it, it's like it's not as clear cut as what we thought it was going to be. Yeah, it's still messed up, but there's some weird stuff with that whole situation that led up to it. And finding out the intent, that officer that laid on his neck, I want to find out like why did he lay on his neck for 8 minutes? Like what decision was that? Was that training? Was that what happened up to that point? We have to get to the point of finding out the truth before we come down to our talking points of our tribe. Like that's what we should seek, is
Yeah.
not finding out what the group is telling us to think, but finding out like, actually, let's find out what happened individually.
It's
Let's
that
that.
the that goes back to something else that happened in the month of March, because this is the month of March 2021 recap.
That's what we're doing.
That's what we're doing, right? Now we remember. In Atlanta, Georgia, Atlanta, right? Is that where the massage parlor shootings happened?
Yeah.
So that sparked the whole Stop Asian Hate thing, and the good and the bad that happened from the Stop Asian Hate thing is, one, hate crimes as a whole went down. That's awesome. The not so good part is, while hate crimes went down by 20%, I'm not looking at the numbers, but I think it's hate crimes went down by 20%, but Asian hate crimes did go up by 125%. So to say that there isn't some kind of correlation, but going back to the shootings in Atlanta, is I was seeing all these blue check marks, and I know that that's like the fun thing to say about people who I say it a lot now because I communicate with them, and that I differentiate them from normal people by that. Like it's stupid, but
it's funny that the blue check mark designates someone's importance to me. That's what's funny. It's like, oh, Twitter gave you a blue check mark. You are important. It's
right.
like,
but all these people are like, this guy shot at 6 Asian-owned businesses. This is a hate crime, and I go, oh no. There's one thing that you have to realize. First, there's two things that you need to realize. First, correlation is not causation.
yep.
Very prime thing to keep in mind. Two, I just put down a finger. I don't know why I did that, but on number 2, if you're going to go with hate crime, you have to prove hate crime. And I just told you correlation does not equal causation. So that means you got to do a whole lot of fucking work to find that causation. And if you want to go after him for a hate crime, you would damn well better have some good proof, because if you don't, you're going to let him get off on a much lighter crime than what you could get him on, of just murder one. Like that's, and that goes back to the Chauvin trial right now. Is, I don't think that, I mean, just based off of the information that I had seen, I think that going for a murder one would have, did they go for murder one, or did they go for murder two?
I'm not sure. Usually what they do when they throw everything against the wall. Like they might put murder one, murder two, manslaughter, involuntary manslaughter. Usually that's the case of what you put all these accusations and you sift it down until you're like, all right, that's the best one we have. This is the best case we have. We'll try to move forward with that.
What's
So I'm
really
not really
funny,
sure.
what's really funny with that though, is that it always ends up diluting the sentencing.
Yeah. Well,
It really does, because it it shows usually as long as, and I hate defending judges because my life was honestly ruined for 5 to 10 years because of a judge not granting me an audience over a traffic ticket that ended up causing me to lose like $5,000, my vehicle, and a bunch of other stuff. And this is all when I was under the age of like 22. And 22, like that's crippling when you lose your job, $5,000, and your vehicle that you use to make your money. Like I was literally a in-home um I was working for a small business, so I didn't have like a work van. I worked out of my car and I installed residential security alarms, and all my money was taken away, so I couldn't buy a car right away. My car was taken away, so I couldn't go anywhere. And oh yeah, and my license was gone. And so this caused me the financial hardship of the initial fines that I had to pay, having to buy a new car eventually, having to pay for an SR22 for, or not, it wasn't an SR22. It was, there was something else that got levied onto my license that caused my insurance to go up. I can't remember exactly what it was, but, and I had all of the information that proved that what the cop wrote down was not what happened. Like I had the receipts and the judge just, nope. I was, uh, awesome. So I don't like defending judges or saying that they're altruistic people, but they do tend to, especially in high profile cases, they feel the need and the, not the need, but they feel the pull, if you will, to do what is right. And when you recognize that one side is just trying to see what'll stick, like that leads to a lighter judge sentencing after everything's said and done.
yeah.
Like I again, I don't know. I should change the name of the show to I don't have the numbers, but I'm pretty good at talking out of my ass, and I'm pretty sure that's a fact.
Pretty sure it's a fact and it's verifiable just as long as you don't Google it.
Or if you Google it and find a way, like, trust me, you can take anything that you find on the internet to say anything you want it to say.
Yeah.
That's, if there's anything I've learned in marketing, it's that.
and and that's just also just a problem we're living with now is we think that researching is Googling. Like I love it when like every once in a while I'll fall into the trap and I'll someone will say something. I'm like, well, I mean, that's an interesting idea, but this, and it's like, I've done my research. And I'm like, Googling, getting on Wikipedia, and then listening to, I don't know, whatever talk show host you're listening to is not doing your research.
So you're telling me
Ma'am.
the curated search console, or not console, but search engine,
Search engine.
the user generated encyclopedia,
Mhm.
and the partisan talking head that you listen to every morning. Okay, cool.
That means research. That
Yeah.
constitutes research. That's like, you don't have to go into any independent research, or you can just do what I've been witnessing now on. It's funny. It's funny to like sit back and watch the cultural phenomenon that happened on TikTok this last year. I know you don't do TikTok, but it's just funny just to be a silent observer and just seeing the pure hate that was spewed, the pure ignorance, the pure just, and it's ignorance isn't the bad thing. The bad thing is being ignorant, but thinking that they're super smart and researched and they know what they're talking about. And like, just this hodgepodge of just crap that's thrown around. And that's been kind of the pretty interesting thing is this idea that, oh, we're researched, we know what we're talking about because we Googled, and we got sources that we all agree with.
Yeah, it's
So I'm researched. I know what I'm doing.
It's really interesting. And that actually kind of brings us to another thing that I wanted to talk about is, Google is 100% controllable. Like as a marketer, my job is to make marijuana dispensaries show up higher in Google search results for near me searches. That's what I do. Like that is from I wish I could say from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. That's what I do, but it's let's just say it's a lot more than that. And that's not a bad thing. It's I don't mind working hard, but it's what I do. It's what I know how to do better than anybody else when it comes to dispensaries. Like I feel confident in saying that.
Yeah.
And if I can do that with dispensaries, with in the marijuana cannabis industry, do you not think that the exact same thing is happening for news sites and for things like the World Health Organization and these different things, especially when they are, when I say they, I mean talking back directly about Google, when they are companies that are ran by mostly left-leaning people who are now, they have gone so far as to, they're now trying to be the arbiters of truth in saying what is unequivocally true and what is unequivocally false. We get to see things like Steven Crowder being banned from YouTube. Well, when I say banned from YouTube, he was taken down for a week. Steven Crowder, for those of you that don't know, is a conservative, I guess you'd say a conservative comedic. It's like a political comedy show. It's outlandish, it's irreverent, it's funny.
He's the guy that's the change my mind guy?
Change my mind guy. Yeah. So anytime you saw, he did videos like there's only two genders, change my mind. There's the Second Amendment shouldn't be infringed, change my mind. It's become a meme to where, you'll see Thanos was right, change my mind. Like all these funny memes. But he was removed from, or he was given a strike on YouTube and removed from the YouTube partner program. Now, what that breaks down to is that means that he is now unable to get
monetize it,
unable to monetize his videos, and is banned from the platform for 7 days. This is the second time that it's happened to him, and it took a year for him to get back the monetized rights back last time, which I think happened in like 2019 that he got back to monetized status. By no means is it going to crush him. He does have like a subscriber type base thing. He's got like an OnlyFans,
like an OnlyFans.
So he's got other ways of monetization, but YouTube, whose parent company is Alphabet, who also owns Google, they are essentially curating who is allowed to speak and profit from it. And that's a good and a bad thing. I can't think of one of the good things, but I'm not going to sit and say that there's absolutely no good in that. Because there is, I find myself wrestling with this so much because there's a part of me that's like,
the only time, like, so the idea is there are voices that we need to shut down if they're dangerous. That's basically like what we come down to. It's like there's certain people that could, we want to avoid having the Hitlers rise up and get people behind them and all that. But to tell you the truth, Hitler only rose up because they would shut down every other voice around them. Like when they created that safe space for Hitler, and then no one could be like, no, this isn't okay. No, they shut it down physically. Like they, they had their whatever, the
Gestapo.
Nazi Gestapo or whatever. They would shut down voices, and if you disagreed, like, you were shut down. And
Mhm.
over time, then that's what got the entire like German people to get behind this idea, because there were no other dissenting voices. And if you were a dissenting voice, it's like, dude, what the hell? Don't you love your country? Like, you know what I mean? Like, so that's why I'm like I don't even agree to, like, I can't think of any leftist person that I would say, and I consider myself kind of a little bit like you, where I feel like more libertarian, more conservative, even though conservative now is turning into a hidden word for Republican. I'm fiscally conservative. Like, I think
Yeah.
that we should be, the taxpayer money, I think, is sacred. Like, that's stuff that people worked on hard.
Mhm.
We should be serious about that. Even if it comes from corporations, whatever, it's still stuff that people worked for that we took. So we have to be serious about that. So I'm fiscally conservative. I'm more libertarian, like, don't mess with me, don't mess with you. And I can't think of anyone on the left side, extreme left side, where I would say we need to shut down that voice. They should not be allowed to be able to speak, because it's hate speech. And I've heard really racist stuff about white people in the last little bit that I've still like them, to the point where I'm like, no, people are allowed to say racist things about, like, me and even my ancestors, even though I have the
Well,
only connection
that's
to my
just
ancestors.
that's just prejudice. That's not racism. You can't be racist against white people. I can't even say it with a straight face. I'm
Oh my
sorry.
gosh. The logic behind that argument too is like, I can't be racist. I don't have power. Like, trick, I don't have power. Like, how is that right? Like, you can discriminate against me and saying that I have power? My opinion doesn't matter. Did you not see what happened with Trump?
I have 4 kids and a wife. I don't get a say in my own goddamn house.
I haven't even seen a paycheck in 7 years. I don't even know what I make. Like, come on. You can't be racist because you have power.
Yeah, the changing words definitions has been like my least favorite thing of the last, like, 10 years. Like, racism is, the original definition was prejudice on people based on their race.
Yeah, when
That was
you're
the
actually being
definition. And then they went in and changed the definition. Like, nope, can't be racist against the white folk.
and they start adding new, like, adjectives and crap, like microaggressions and unconscious bias. How the F are you supposed to deal with an unconscious bias?
It's unconscious.
If it's an unconscious bias, literally, you're never going to be able to fix it. It's just another control thing where they can say, oh, I think you're acting out or you're being biased against something. I'm like, oh, and it's supposed to make me question myself. But I'm like, do you have any unconscious bias? No, I can't. I'm a person of color. We can't be racist. I'm like, well, who said anything about racist? It's freaking ridiculous. All of it's ridiculous. We all have stuff. We all carry it. There's some people that are worse than others.
Yeah,
Anyways,
I'm of the thought, and I'm sure this has been said a million times over and over again. If I'm walking down a street and I see a white guy who looks like he's up to no good, I'm gonna cross the street. If I'm walking down the street and I see a brown or a black person who looks like they're up to no good, and that literally is not just because of the color of their skin, I'm gonna cross the street.
well, that and also the context of where you're in. Like, if you're in an area where you're the only white person there and all that, you're going to feel awkward. So your setting matters. You're going to have certain things that you've learned from your own experiences, and that's going to have an effect on you. I had a friend, and we actually, I don't know if this, yeah, I can tell the story. All right. So, well, I'm just trying to think to see if
Statute
this,
of limitations is up. You're good.
yeah. No, no,
Hate
no.
crimes only
So,
last 10 years.
no, it's not.
Just kidding.
hate crimes last 10 years, I think they'd still come back to cancel you.
Well, they would try
You
to cancel you. I think there was actually a law they were trying to pass to remove statute of limitations on hate crimes. I can't
Of
remember
course,
off the top of my
yeah.
head.
I mean, let's not remove it for like rape and all that, child rape and all that, but let's move it for someone that might have said the N-word when they were, 12 years old or something like that.
And
It's like,
let's make sure that we don't remove it for any tax evasion stuff as well.
yeah, it's ridiculous. Anyway, so my buddy, and this actually happened a little bit ago, and so he's white, I'm white, whatever. We're in Gilbert, Arizona. So that's predominantly white and mainly, like, I think it's like 20% Mormon. So pretty significant Mormon and religious community. Anyways, so he's doing soccer with his son. They're doing club soccer. They went out to like Mesa somewhere. Mesa's a little bit not as nice as Gilbert. The property value is a little bit lower and all that. The mixed community. You're going to have just a diverse community a lot more. So they're at another school where they're visiting with their soccer club, with another soccer club from another school. Anyways, so they're all there. Parents are there. Stuff's happening. Games going on. Anyways, there was this this black family, and the friends didn't even notice them. And anyways, the lady, like the mother, I guess she had I don't know, she must have slipped, hurt her knee, or something happened. She's screaming, hollering, grabbing her knee, whatever. Buddy goes over there. It's like, whoa, what's going on? How can I help? No one's talking to him. No one's even replying. Everyone's just kind of standing around and kind of watching what the lady's doing. And he thought, okay, whatever. They might be like just trying to figure it out. He calls the ambulance. He's there with her. He's still like, hey, I got, you need water. They're not even acknowledging him being there at all. And so like, he was like, this is kind of weird, but it's a weird situation, hurt and all that. Cops get there and all that. They're able to get her on the ambulance, and my buddy's still like there kind of helping along and all that. And as the husband comes up a little bit later, and he's like, hey, you guys want some water or something as you go, because you're going to the doctor. No response at all, not even acknowledging that he was there, nothing like that. And my buddy was kind of like, oh, that's kind of weird. Like, he's played football, so he has, he's not just like some white kid from Utah that's never had any experience. He's actually not from Utah, which I think is a plus. But anyways, he's like, still just like, it kind of bothered him. Like, he's like, did I do something wrong or something like that? So he's thinking about it and all that. And he ends up calling one of his buddies, which is actually a client of his that he played football with. The guy played professional football. And he was like, hey, let me tell you this story and just see, did I miss something? Is something up? And he ends up talking to Buddy's black, and that's why he asked him instead of some white dude. And the buddy was like, actually, why you were telling me the story, it actually resembles a lot of like people I know in like, and I don't even know where I was going with this, but in those communities where where they're very suspicious of people from outside their community, and they might have even had like a suspicion that maybe you were responsible for it or something. Like, that's just the way they go, because if you're not outside your own community, you're kept away, and then suddenly you're outside of that and you're around a bunch of white people, like, it's going to be the same with like us. If you're like in your community all the time, you never interact with, like, let's say Indian people, because now that I interact with a lot of Indian people, suddenly you're submersed around them, you're going to be a little bit suspicious and all that. But especially with that I don't want to say black, I think it's more of a poverty sometimes situation where you have like this kind of, even more so, of like distrust from the outside and all that. You have to be a little bit more suspicious, because a lot more crime happens in poor neighborhoods. It just does. I forgot where I was going with this, man.
I think that you were going off of when you feel outside of your community, you're going to behave differently than you would inside your community, which can be misconstrued as unconscious
like a
bias.
racist, yeah, or as an unconscious bias, or as racist. Like,
Yeah.
my friend, he didn't know what was going on with that, but now that he's like, oh, it's a cultural thing, and it's because I'm from outside their community, so he's able to put that in context. And so a lot of the time, a lot of it's just a cultural misunderstanding. And I'm not making an excuse for people that are racist, because racism is stupid, and I don't know why anyone would do that. But
Yeah, there's plenty of good things to dislike people about. Like,
why do we have to care about like skin color?
Like,
There's so many better things.
I love hating people for legitimate reasons.
I love hating
tons
people
of them.
that do needless process just for process sake. Like they do something and it's like there's so much lost energy and loss of efficiency. I can't stand those people. I'm like, why would you do it that like when my wife does projects, oh my gosh, like just the needless movements that happen and processes that she makes up that have to happen but have no logical reason. Those are the people I like to hate because they're idiots. Monica's doesn't watch this, so we don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
But seriously, they're all idiots. But,
yeah, I try to make sure to say fuck in the first 5 minutes to get anybody that knew me from my
limit those
first
people that are going to
18
be
years of life out of the herd.
ooh, Justin swears. I can't listen to this.
Oh, clutching my pearls.
Can't believe it.
But no, you're right. Like, I mean, there's way better things to dislike people about, and that's like, I'm not above disliking people for petty reasons, but disliking somebody for the color of their skin, it's like
I think, yeah, I think there's so much better things, and I think even the focus is wrong. Like, and this new concept of cultural appropriation and how bad that is, and all that. I think the focus is completely wrong. The focus should be on positive and negative effects of your own individual culture and other cultures. If one culture does something good, why wouldn't we want to emulate that in every single culture? Like, why wouldn't like? Go ahead.
You want to see my newest form of cultural appropriation?
Yeah.
Ka-chow, Black Panther.
Oh, well, there you go. You're going to get canceled for that alone.
Like it's funny. Like it people have actually said that to me. Like
that it's cultural appropriation to have Black Panther tattooed on your arm.
I haven't had anybody say it to me in seriousness yet, to be fair.
Oh, okay.
It's all been
okay,
it's all been in
jest. Good.
But I don't doubt that at some point somebody is going to say it to me.
That's our hero, not yours. Like, and that's what's really stupid is now it's going way too far, and it's like the aspect of cultural appropriation as if adopting someone's culture is not like the biggest form of admiration towards that culture.
Yeah.
Flattery, complete flattery. Like if you make something from your culture, like a dish, and I'm like, dude, this is freaking phenomenal. Teach me how to cook this. Why would you take that as an offense? Like how in what, or if you do like this cool like thing of singing and I'm like, dude, that's freaking awesome. Like we could, can you show me how to do that? Like, and I've learned how to sing that way or make art in a certain way that's inspired by like, let's say you have Viking ancestry and I have no Viking ancestry, but I'm just like, this badass. So I'm going to do it. You know what I mean? Like, why is that not like, thank you for, and I think it's only in America where we get upset about it. And it's almost always white people upset for other people's culture where we get upset about it. It's always white liberals that are like, you can't wear anything like that. That's cultural appropriation from Native Americans and all that stuff. Because like they've done
they will never take my headdress from me. Never.
Never. It's never going to happen. And then again, it always comes back to the intent, because am I wearing like traditional Indian garb as like a compliment, saying like this stuff is freaking awesome and I want to wear it with respect to the culture, or am I wearing it to like look like a fool and act like play a skit, and I'm trying to embarrass that, and that's not my culture? Then that can be viewed as an insult. But if I get like a beaded necklace that I got off of a reservation, I think like this thing's freaking awesome. Like I'm paying homage to that person and those skills that came down the generations.
Yeah.
If my intent was to be a jackass, then yeah, treat me like a jackass. But if you jump to me being a jackass when my intent was to be like, this is awesome and I love it, then you're the jackass. That's all I'll say.
Like I'm a couple of months away from having some Tom McDonald braids pretty soon here. Like my hair is
dude, we need to get Tom McDonald on your show.
Dude,
I'm a big fan of him.
That is my goal. And I've been really impressed with him as of late, because he really did break into the scene as, being this controversial, which I mean, his opening line for Fake Woke is amazing. I'm the one that's controversial, but Cardi B is the hero for 12-year-old girls.
That's it right there. That's all you need to know. It's like, oh, okay, he's just level set it. He's like, you're all idiots.
And to do that, make that like your thing. And now he's, he, 3 weeks ago he made this big video of like, hey, everybody that followed me in the last year, I make other cool music other than just stuff that is going to piss off your liberal friends. Like I also make really cool music. And so the last 3 weeks he's been able to, expand and like, hit like these different kinds of, tones with his music, with the likes of No Good Bastard that came out last week. This week was
Church was
Church was last week.
Yeah, this week was
which was really powerful. He's extremely talented lyrically.
Yeah.
And
what's interesting about him, and I'm sorry for interrupting your thought.
You're good.
But what's interesting about him is like, so he's the first person I actually bought physical CDs to in the first like long time, because I don't have iTunes and I don't listen to music that much, honestly. But I bought his two like latest CDs a few months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I just like the depth of his lyrics, like lyrically. Like I can't tell you how many times I've listened to the song and like multiple times, and then I heard one line, I'm like, holy crap! I did not even like first few times I heard that, I didn't realize how deep that line or that bar he spit out was. So it's like he's crazy talented with putting stuff together that way.
Have you listened to his song Cancer?
Cancer? Yeah.
Dude, the line, it's like in the second like verse. It says, I swear the cancer has a cure, but they're refusing to make it. They've done like 40 years of research, 90 billion in donations.
Yeah.
We've been running for the cure, wearing ribbons for ages. Why are people still going through radiation? Like, it's like, seriously, why is there no like why isn't there like regular like status updates on the fight against cancer? And then maybe, just maybe, let the people who are donating have an idea where their money is going, so that when it does look like, oh, you're not doing anything with that money, they can then put it to somebody that will.
Yeah. That the whole cancer business is something that I think does need to get investigated, because I think there is a lot of money that goes into it, and I don't think innovation is rewarded in that industry as much as creating a long process to create like lots of billable procedures.
Yeah. But yeah, like we were talking about. So he not started off, but 2020 was really made him blow up in as this I'm sure people label him alt-right, but I assure you, if you just listen to the guy, you can't say with a clean conscience that he's alt-right, period. It
Listen
really,
to If I Were Black and you'd be like, oh, so he can think both with both sides of his head.
Yeah. White Boy, another one.
Yep. Like, and that's like the counter to I Am Black. If
I Was
there
Black,
were, yeah, If I Was Black and White Boy is kind of like seeing it from both sides of the situation, which is kind of a testament to the artist he's turning into, is like being able to kind of play both of these sides and see things and explain them in two different ways that you kind of bring you to like, oh yeah, saying something that means something.
Yeah. And he's able to make his nut, so to speak, off of these, politicized songs, and then go, guys, I'm making music that's going to be really different for these 3 weeks. Please listen. And he puts out things like No Good Bastard, where it's just him just saying, I'm a dirtbag. And just making great music. Like it's a great, like little alt rock song. And then you got Church, which is all about addiction and dealing with it through a higher power and support system and so on and so forth. And then the one that dropped today was Heart Emojis, which is just like another like kind of it reminded me a lot of Machine Gun Kelly's latest album, which was like a tribute to every early 2000s punk pop album. And just seeing him be able to kind of like spread his wings, so to speak, has been really cool. And to get that that aspect, because as I started this podcast, I had to really think about, who do I want to be? Do I want to be the guy that just goes for shock and awe, who says faggot? Like, and like, while that is a part of who I am, like I'm the guy that says irreverent things to get the laugh and whatnot. You know, it was, I had to like think about it. I was like, man, like there are gonna be people that I know that this show is going to one day be listened to by thousands upon thousands of people. Hundreds of thousands
Millions.
of people will listen, millions of people will listen to this
Yes.
show one day. And I know that there are going to be people who are going to try to take what I've said now and try to label me as some kind of ist. And like that.
Well, what bothers me about that, about people that do that, and everyone does that because everyone wants to bring down, especially if you come from nothing and make it up, is, let's say at the early point of your career, you are a bit of an ass, or maybe you say a couple side comments to a woman that is messed up. Does I'd say the past is the past for a person, and I have to go on what they are now and what they're doing now. You know what I mean? Like I hope that, and like you're saying, there's going to be people that try to tear you down. They're going to try to turn you into like, oh, he's a racist, homophobe. I don't know what other types of phobics they're going to be. I can't wait until eventually it gets all the way back to where now you're a whitophobe, because once we come around the whole circle, and then whites are then the then something to be feared, or you're a bigot if you fear white people, then that will be funny. Just, it's funny to me just watching politics and society anyways, but we all have.
There's a PSA of a black family walking down the street, and then
It's like,
a white guy in a suit and tie is walking down the same street, and then they cross the street.
yeah,
Like,
they cross the street, the wife holds her purse a little bit tighter, the guy's like, you see the white guy kind of like disappointed, like, and then like the
it's like
white
the
the white
crying Indian of the 1980s commercials.
he's just your insurance salesman,
Littering.
but he's feeling like he's less than.
No, it's
Man.
I do think it will come full circle like that, which is sad. And then it will be, it 100% will be the people that are on the, I don't know if I want to say far right or right, that then are playing the victim, because that seems like all it is these days. It's one group trying to be the victim. Like, there's
Like, who's had it worse? It's like a competition, like, oh well, our people historically have had it worse. I'm like, all right, cool, like I get that, it sucks. You got to be able to, okay, like, now that you're okay, are you yourself a victim? If so, what's that situation? How can we address that now? If you're just saying, well, for years, 450 years, like, this is like, we can go back in history and we can like do this game, but it's not going to get anywhere. Like, if you're going to like cry for stuff and be the victim for stuff, and this competition to find out who's had it bad over history.
Did you just say batter?
Yeah, I said batter. It's a word.
It's really funny. Like, I was listening to something the other day, and they're like, man, could the Egyptians have picked worse slaves?
The Jews.
Like, the Jews. I don't want to lift this rock. It's very heavy. It's bad on my skin.
Listen, they had to hone different skills, guys. They're better at different things. Building pyramids, probably not the best. Actually, they're pretty solid. So maybe maybe they did a pretty good job, actually.
I still think it was aliens, man.
I've heard that theory.
They're too massive.
Yeah, no, they're definitely massive. I think though that I think we've had some. I think we've had a lot of technological advances that have gone into obscurity because of
Stop scratching your shoulder.
Sorry, I think we've had a lot of sorry.
A lot of people are listening to this
Like,
on audio
oh
only,
gosh.
and all they're hearing is.
Where did you see that Everyone Loves Raymond episode? Am I that old? Oh, okay. Well, Raymond gets on the TV and he's like scratching his microphone, and his whole family's like, "You freaking idiot! Like, you're on live TV!" Like, but anyways, so Elon Musk brought this up about how it's important that we constantly keep going as a society and everything like that, because throughout history we had peaks and crashes, and so
Mhm.
we've peaked with technology, and we think that we always have that technology, but we end up crashing with it, and then it disappears. Like, just look at how long it took to get back into the active space race again. It
Mhm.
took independent people to relearn how to do this when we already did it back in the 60s, because we just stopped our space program. So all that technology just, it
But
goes
did we
away.
do it in the 60s?
There's there's actually legitimate arguments against, did we actually make it to the moon when we said we did? Now, I think we made it to the moon. I could see the argument that we didn't make it to the moon when we said we made it to the moon, because along that whole race, man, the Russians were head and shoulders ahead of us. Last minute, we came in with our inferior rocket technology and we shot straight to the moon, baby. Not to mention, we had a really good Hollywood industry, and we're the world's best at putting out movies. But besides
Have
that,
you heard the Stanley Kubrick theory?
which one's that?
There's a theory, and I think it's probably BS, that Stanley Kubrick is the one who shot the moon landing.
Is he the guy that did The Shining?
The Shining,
Yep.
Clockwork Orange.
I've heard.
Um,
Back to the Future, right?
Nope, that was Robert Zemeckis.
Okay, there's someone that was trying to put like Back to the Future conspiracy about the Twin Towers, knowing that it was coming. Have you heard that one?
No, but I'm looking it up right now.
Oh, I'm a sucker for some of these conspiracy theories, because I love the thought process of the guy that was sitting up high as hell, just coming up with, like, watching this movie. He's like, wait a second, it's all opening up to me now. The Twin Towers, and he's like drawing all these things, and he's going through the movie, taking notes feverishly. And then his wife walks in. He's like, honey, you got to sit down for this.
All right, let's take a look at this.
Oh my gosh.
So let me.
There's also like a YouTube video somewhere about the whole conspiracy.
So Back to the Future predicted 9/11, 4 other crazy conspiracy theories. The Wrap looks at the strangest fan theories about the franchise in time for Back to the Future Day. And this was back in October 21st, 2020, right around when Zoom stock crashed. Weird.
No,
I think there might
it
be
didn't
some
crash. 2020? No, 2020 is
well, no,
that's when it's
no, it didn't
Zoom.
crash. It hit its peak in July, and then
and then it started.
or no, in October it hit its all-time peak, and then it fell to about half of what it was.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a crash, but it was definitely a slide. So let's see. We got Back to the Future films predicted 9/11 attacks as well as the assassination of John F. Kennedy Jr., at least according to fans. Wasn't John F. Kennedy Jr. dead by the time
that was John F. Kennedy. John F. Kennedy Jr. died in a plane crash.
Why are they saying assassination? Was that deemed an assassination?
John F. Kennedy. Wait. No, that can't be. Maybe we're getting this mixed up. John F. Kennedy Jr. Let me look up John F. Kennedy. You keep going. I'll look up John F. Kennedy Jr.
These are just two of the craziest theories about the 1980s sci-fi trilogy that are floating around the internet. Many also suggest that George McFly actually knew that Kevin Kline was his future son. Calvin Kline, not Kevin Kline. Kevin Kline is the actor. Calvin Kline is the underwear guy who Marty McFly said he was. And that it is Doc and Marty's fault that we do not have hoverboards today. There are more, but some of them are even too crazy to understand. In light of the official Back to the Future 2 day on October 21st, which was also the day which Michael J. Fox's time-traveling teenager Marty McFly visited in the film, the Wrap takes a look at 5 most out-of-this-world conspiracy theories. So 1, Back to the Future foresaw the 9/11 attacks. One fan theory claims the film actually predicted the September 11th attacks in multiple scenes in the first movie. The clock reads 9:55 p.m. at one point, a clear indication that some fans in the film predicted 9/11 because the clock's hands point to 9 and 11. In a second scene in which Marty McFly is ambushed in the Twin Pines Mall parking lot, the fan points out that the shooting takes place in a location that contained the word twin in its name. Naturally, he connects the fact that to the fact that Al Qaeda chose the Twin Towers for their terrorist attack. And he notes that turning the clock of the Twin Pines Mall sign around 1:16 a.m. becomes 9:11. Oh, if you flip it up. Okay.
Mhm.
So if you invert the numbers, okay, so this is just some extreme reaching. Oh, that's all they have? Oh, well, that's just stupid.
Hold on. There was also this other one that it had like a connection with the Twin Pines, that the car comes through and hits the Twin Pines, and at the end, it like the whole video goes off. The end, it's just one pine, and so they were like, oh well, the plane hit the Twin Pine trees, or the plane hit the Twin Towers, and then there's only one tower after the fact. They're like, oh my gosh, I love this stuff.
The amount of mental gymnastics that you have to do, or as I like to say, mental jujitsu. Like it's unprecedented.
The amount of edibles and that was consumed for this. Oh yeah, that's the video, I think.
Yeah, so this is the John F. Kennedy. Well, now this one. So in another fan video, various eerie similarities are pointed out that made one fan think the film also echoed the 1963 assassination of President John F. Kennedy. According to the video, Delay Plaza in Dallas, where Kennedy was assassinated, has the same layout as Hill Valley Town Square. Excuse me. And the courthouse clock tower look very similar. I've been to that clock tower on Universal Lot. It's pretty cool.
Oh.
To have been there. In a storefront, a bust of JFK is depicted, positioned in Hall Valley, where JFK actually lost his head in Delay Plaza. Wait, I'm guessing did the bust fall over and his head fell off?
No.
Moreover, Back to the Future 2 was released on November 22nd, the day that JFK was killed. Okay.
Stretching.
Okay.
Why would they?
Whoa, okay.
What's the purpose of
the Back to the Future trilogy is a metaphor for sexual reproduction. As reported by Time, fans have pointed out that the flux capacitor looks very similar to a pair of ovaries and fallopian tubes connected to a uterus. Moreover, the machine requires a man to enter it to begin the process, which is supervised by Doc Brown. Although I'm not going to lie, now that I see the flux capacitor, I can't unsee fallopian tubes and ovaries.
That's weird because I see balls and a penis, which is basically like an external fallopian tube and uterus.
Ovaries.
Yeah, and ovaries.
Doc Brown is suicide. Doc Brown was definitely suicidal. Are you killing me or kidding me?
Yeah.
That guy knew, like he actually created a time machine. A man
and used it
who knows that much knows that he has to kill himself to keep it from being weaponized. That's a fact.
Yeah. That's why he's trying to get away from those terrorists.
What was it?
Another connection to the it's another connection to the 9/11 thing is that the fact that he was involved with like Iranian terrorists or something like that.
Yeah.
It's great. I love it. So that they're talking. So the John F. Kennedy thing wasn't John F. Kennedy Jr. It was John F. Kennedy.
Well, it says John F. Kennedy here,
but up top it said the assassination of John F. Kennedy Jr. That must be a typo. They suck it. Yeah, because John F. Kennedy Jr. died in a plane crash. He didn't die in assassination.
Are you sure? I thought that was the third.
John F. Kennedy Jr. died in a plane crash in July 16th, 1999.
I remember. I was super bummed that he was trying to steal my thunder on my birthday.
Yep. And not only that, what was interesting is before the plane crash, he had brown eyes. After the plane crash, they found out he had blue eyes.
Yeah, you think that's a Mandela effect?
Yeah, well, I mean, one blew that way and the other one blew that way, but sorry, that was a dad joke. Pretty dark flag joke. There's been enough time. 1999 to now. Come on, it's been long enough.
I think I'll allow it.
We'll
I'm
allow
the
it.
arbiter of what's okay. Don't you know that?
I think everyone should be the arbiter of what's okay for them.
I mean, yeah, I think that's how I live my life. Like I don't surround myself by people that I don't want to be around. I am the arbiter of what I keep around me. And if there's something I don't like, I just go the other direction. Like that's what I do. If there's people over here saying things that are rude to me, I'm not going to go over there, especially if I'm outnumbered. If it's one little scrawny guy, yeah, I'll go over there and
Deal
tussle.
with it.
But but other any other circumstance, I'm just going to go this way. Just
Yeah.
Okay, that guy thinks I'm a stupid idiot white supremacist. Oh, I'm just going to let him keep talking and show how stupid he is when he sees that I have nothing but black friends. I mean, that's not true. I don't have nothing but black friends, but I do have black friends. Okay. I'm not racist.
famous words of everyone
Every
accused of being
racist.
racist is I have a black friend.
No, you know what? I am so separated from racism that back when I was a young lad growing up in government housing in Tacoma, Washington, or as I like to call it now, Tecompton. My best friend was a black kid, and I was just so upset that he got to paint himself brown and I couldn't paint myself blue. Little did I know the Blue Man Group was a thing at that time. Like that would have been a game changer for me.
Wait, hold on. As a kid, you thought he painted himself brown?
Yeah, yeah. I 100% thought because I asked my mom. I was like, "Can I paint myself blue?" And she was like, "No. Why do you want to paint
Because
yourself
you thought
blue?"
your friend
And I was
painted
like, "Well,
himself
Shannon
black.
gets to paint himself brown. What the hell?"
As a kid, I could see how upset you would be.
Like I just wanted to be blue. And if only my mom was supportive and was like, "You know what? Here, watch this YouTube video." Although YouTube wasn't a thing back then. I guess that's the problem. But she could have gone to the video store and got me a Blue Man Group tape. They've been around since forever. It could have changed my entire life. I could be playing the drums in Vegas to
I
nobody right
identify
now.
as a blue human. Well, there's weirder things that people identify as nowadays. So
Yeah, what are they? The Alphabet Mafia.
all the new LGBTQ plus quote super straight
I
plus.
think it's LGBTQ AAIP plus.
Can we just say other? Can we just cover everything and just like other? Male, heterosexual straight male, heterosexual straight female, other. Like,
Like, why can't we just go back to queer? Like queer. Like it
you know
just works.
what's the kind of the funniest thing is like when you were talking about Steven Crowler or whatever about his there's only two genders, changed my mind. Imagine if it was like 1990 anything and you made the statement there's only two genders. People would think that you're the stupidest person alive. Like they would like, of course, like well, that wouldn't even be a topic. It wouldn't be even like a concern. And I don't think anyone's changed. Like we all knew that there was people that got sex changes back then. Still, there was cross dressers. There was people that thought that they were. The joke growing up was I'm a lesbian female
In a
in a man's
man's
body,
body.
right?
Yeah.
And no kidding, I was watching this Vice interview of this Antifa guy or male who identified as a lesbian female. He's a male. He identifies as a lesbian female, still physically a male.
So biologically male.
Biologically
identifies as a female lesbian. Huh.
He is a lesbian trapped in a man's body, but he wants to have clout with his Antifa people. So he just says it so he can bang liberal girls. That's what I swear it's for. I swear he's actually the master of it. I wish I could find that clip. He's the master of it. He has successfully beta mailed his way into the liberal female circle.
That was my favorite thing. There was a video that came out. I want to say it's probably been like 6 years, maybe even more now. And it was on behalf of all men, I'm sorry. And it was just these guys, like all unfuckable dudes that are just like, I'm sorry that guys whistle at you on the street. I'm sorry for, and it just like, I thought it was a parody when I first saw it, and then I actually saw a parody of it. I was like, oh my goodness, so that wasn't a parody, that was real. This is a parody of that. Ooh, that is that caused me to lose some faith in the human race.
That is kind of like
that's the other thing that needs to get like more recognition, is like, I'm pro human race, like humans are cool. Like the more that, and that's what really was driven me crazy about this 24-hour news cycle and everything like that, is that it's all designed to get you to hate other people on both sides. Like, period. That is what they want. They want to elicit hate and distrust, because that's what keeps you coming back to them for the news. That's how they're going to keep you in their rat race.
Well, yeah, I mean, it totally, it brings you back, because it's like, hey, we're telling you about the people that hate you, or we're telling you about the enemy. You're going to want to come back to us, because we're designed to look out for danger for us. And if we're like, oh, this is the biggest threat for us, this is our biggest danger, and the news is giving us that information, then we're naturally going to steer towards that source. That's the source of all our anxiety. But our brains are designed to protect ourselves. And this is psychologically, we're doing what our brain's telling us to do by protecting ourselves, by going back to this news source that's telling you about how to hate everybody else because they hate you. Like,
yeah, it's the only word that I can think of to like describe it in its entirety, for me at least, is sad. Like it's sad. Like the people that are running these news networks, they do not care. They do not care that they are trying to drive people further and further away, because the further people get away, like the more you separate people, the more that you've become that source of truth, that source of my opinion. These are my people. I'm coming back here for my news because these people get me. And that's super sad. Like,
well, it's also a bit scary, um, just because of like the fact that they're willing to just do that to people. It's like, what else? Like, everything progresses, and if you allow it, everything, control and power gets worse. It just does. Like, if you don't balance it out, it's going to get worse. And so I feel like as that goes, it's going to continue to do bad and to get worse, and there's going to be more of a divisive factor of it, and, and everything with it. So it's alarming, and it is definitely sad.
so we are we are the alien overlords that can snap our fingers and make actual change. What are the first changes that you're going to make to try to lessen the division amongst everybody.
I've said this a few times. Maybe I've said it on your show last time. I'm not sure. I think that something like, now it doesn't have to be military service, but something like a military service where everyone has to put skin in the game in your country, whether it's 2 years or 4 years or whatever, everyone has to have the same experience. There's no exception. Everyone has to do something. Now it could be National Guard where you're filling sandbags for, a thing for 2 years, or, whatever it is, type of job, any type of public service job. Like everyone has to commit to that for 2 years, whether it's military service, Coast Guard, National Guard. We can even come up with some other types of like service.
Or what if we established a 2-year community service program?
It has to be. So the idea of it is that everyone has a shared experience. Everyone's treated like the exact same. Like whether you're the richest, come from the richest family ever, or the poorest place in Louisiana, you're all going to be on the same level. You're all going to be treated the same as much as you can, because I don't care, no matter, even in the military, people get treated differently if they have family in the military and all that. It just happens. But at least you have some type of shared experience. You're going to engage with people that you probably never engaged with, that some people will never have the opportunity to engage with, like people from the ghetto of South Chicago and someone from like a nice suburb in San Diego are now engaging and now have to interact together, now have to get to know each other at least enough to work together. You have that experience. Everyone feels like they commit something to the country. Like everyone feels like they put something into it. And then the reason why I like the idea of like military service is that when you're voting for a guy or a girl that wants to use more military action, you now know, everyone knows that, hey, these people everyone has to be put on the line to do it. Why would I want to vote for someone that's a little bit more aggressive with military stuff than anybody else? Like, why would I want to do that? Because I know my kids are going to grow up, they're going to have to go in the military. Why are we even militaristic?
Yeah.
So it brings it down.
Do you know who? Excuse me. Do you know who Jocko Willink is?
Yeah.
So Jocko, like my dream presidential team is, and it honestly doesn't matter who's in the passenger and who's in the driver's seat to me. It doesn't. But Jocko Willink, excuse me, and Tulsi Gabbard would be. Tulsi Gabbard is a representative from Hawaii who was running for president as well. She got smeared hard by Hillary, and I want to say Elizabeth Warren smeared her pretty good. She's the one that really owned Kamala really well when she was talking about the nonviolent drug offenders that she put in jail, and many of which are still there. When she was a public not a public defender, she was attorney general. District attorney, that's what it was. She's the one that really, she's the one that honestly kicked Kamala out of the race. Like nobody would have anything to do with her. That was after she being Kamala Harris was saying that Joe Biden was a predator and all this stuff,
and racist
and racist.
And that's the funniest thing is Kamala Harris dropped out even before her own state ran, because she wasn't look like she was going to even pick up her own state.
Yeah.
So
but that's my like dream team presidential run, is because they're beyond being a representative from Hawaii, she's also a combat veteran. She is she's against the needless wars. She's against anything that makes America weak. Like she's against it. And like I would love to see the country ran by two people that do understand the ugly of war. And now I'm talking like Jocko because I thought about him.
And now I'm going to tell you how to get up out of your bed and get shit done.
Dude, Dude, nobody
he's
makes me
motivated
feel
as
like a
hell.
bigger piece of shit than Jocko Willink. Like, I follow him on Instagram just as self-hatred.
Just to be like, oh man, I'm feeling pretty good about myself. Need to bring myself down a level.
Like, I feel good about myself because I get up at 5:15 in the morning to work out, and he's posting pictures at 4:30 of a sweat puddle that's already there.
And he's 3 hours ahead of you.
Yeah, I'm like, damn you,
Like, dang
Jocko.
it. It's
Damn
2 o'clock
you.
in the morning, dude.
That guy, like, and that kind of work ethic, man, and like the discipline equals freedom. Like that, I think that is something that is really lost among a lot of the people of this country. I don't think they understand
Yeah.
that discipline does deliver freedom. And that's one of the things that, like, I went through like an existential crisis a few weeks ago, and like was like really um lost because like I had temporarily fallen out of love with what I was doing and fallen out of love with the company that I worked for. And it was, like I said earlier, like the last 2 days have been my quarterly planning, and like really going back to like our core values. And that actually is one of our core values. Like one of the sublines of one of the values is freedom through discipline. And like that, it is it is a hard truth to learn that through discipline you give yourself freedom, because it doesn't seem like it from the outside looking in. It does not look like that is freedom, because you are forcing yourself to get up earlier, you are forcing yourself to physically work, you are forcing yourself to do all these things. But then when you're in it, like, I mean, I just posted last week that I hit my 50 pounds down from when I started losing weight.
Awesome.
And yeah, it's I have no problem patting myself on the back, because that is a big step.
Yeah.
But it was through discipline that now I am free to do physical activities that I couldn't do back then. And as I continue to drop down, it's the simple freedom of I can go on a roller coaster. You know what I mean? Like that, it 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 seems trivial, but that's the easiest way to break it down into how discipline equals freedom. Because I'm disciplined, I am making it possible for my body to do more things. I'm making it possible for me to experience more things. And it's all because I am working that discipline muscle. And there, delayed gratification is something that is so hard to come by in the social media world, when it's all about likes and clicks and this and that. And the idea of delayed gratification is lost. I mean, like I said, I work with business owners, and when you say, this is what we're going to do for you, and then a week goes by and they're like, wow, what's going on? This hasn't changed. It's like, hey, you gotta breathe.
Yeah, you gotta give it.
You gotta accept that your $1,000. I don't even know if I'm legally supposed to talk about our pricing. What are you gonna do? But your money that you're paying on a monthly basis, it might not show fruition in that first 3 months. There's a chance that it will. Most times, ironically enough, it does for me and my clients. But there are instances that it doesn't. And delaying that and realizing that, and, obviously I'm using an example that not everybody can relate to, which is a bad idea now that I think about it, but it is what it is.
Well, I mean, it's like the results that you're talking about though is the same as like dieting, right?
Yeah.
Like you're not going to be able to see results within your
Yeah.
first day, maybe not even within your first week or month, really. You might
Yeah.
start seeing something, but nothing. And it's the process that you're subscribing to. It's not like all of a sudden it turns on. Like name one thing that was an overnight success. There literally is nothing. Like there
Yeah.
really is nothing where a person was like, I was doing absolutely nothing, and then overnight I just started. No, there was a lot of time of life that happened up to that point. There might have been a lot of other failed experiences up to that point, but it's that discipline you're learning along that point that gets you to that point where now it's starting to, you're getting the freedom or the results you want, which is kind of interesting going into what you're talking about, this idea that discipline is or however Jocko says it, it's like
discipline
freedom
equals freedom.
Yeah. Discipline equals freedom. I've heard something like that, like growing up, but it's funny how like now, like, and I think maybe a lot of it's social media and everything, but it's people demanding freedom be given to them, or they get what they want, and they don't want to have any discipline behind it. They want just freedom, and they want everything that everyone else like is able to get, but they don't want to have the discipline to get it. And it's kind of like all the complaints that are happening on whether it's, you know, left, right, in the middle, everyone's complaining and all that, but they're not willing to have the discipline to get the freedom that they're actually seeking. And I think that's a big disconnect in our culture, is this instant gratification, this lack of discipline and just activity.
Yeah. Man, we really went all over with this one.
Yeah, this one was a fun one. We should probably stick to actual topics though that are happening within the month next time. This was kind of like just everything frustrated, like all this stuff in our heads.
Well, I mean, I decided on this in like the last few days of March, and then instead of like I said, I work a lot, and so
I get it.
Like being able to go back and find
let's do
big
a recap.
News articles.
Yeah,
very hard to do.
Here's what we'll do. We'll have an email chain for the month of April.
Yeah,
and we'll just email articles back and forth to each other.
There we go.
And so that way we can.
If you people out there have articles that you want some recap takes on, go ahead and send them. DM me on Instagram, the Justin EXP, and we'll talk about what you guys want to talk about. I think that, and there's other things that I plan on evolving this show with. I'm working on getting some voice messages so that people can send in questions.
That'd be kind of fun.
As I'm able to kind of like build out my pipeline of different folks coming in, or my funnel pipeline, if you will, of different folks coming in, because I got a lot of good ones coming up. I have a bunch of comedians coming up, so if you guys have questions for people who are doing the damn thing, like living in New York, and in all this crazy time have found a way to still succeed as comedians through this way, is how they've done it through the way of the internet and podcasting. If you have questions for some podcasters, I got Hank Foley of the Are You Garbage podcast coming on soon. We're going to be solidifying some dates pretty soon. So if you have questions for him, if you want to take a look at his show, it's a hilarious show where they talk with different comedians in the New York area about growing up and like the trash things that we grow up with. Like they talk about, like, when you go out to eat, do you take home leftovers? Have you ever owned an above ground pool? Did you ever drink the frozen grape from concentrate Welch's like tins?
Or the orange juice ones?
Yeah, those guys. And so like they take these things so it's like a nostalgia hit as well as self-deprecation combined with just hilarious people, because the two guys that run it, H Foley, his name's Hank Foley, but just goes to H Foley, and Kevin Ryan, they're comics, they're hilarious, they're Philly guys. I think they're Philly guys who live in New York now, and they're absolutely hilarious. So if you have questions for like professional comedians, I got him coming on. I have Mike Feeney of the Dad Meat podcast, another comedian coming on soon. I just had Ralph Sutton of the SDR show. He's going to be coming back on. I don't know when, but if you have questions for a guy who went from being a strip club DJ to a rock radio DJ to a podcaster to a podcast network owner, send those questions as well, because I'm going to talk to him again in a few months. I also have on April 15th, I'm going to be sitting down with the lovely Charlotte Stokely, who is Will Pounder, the first guest of this year's girlfriend. For those of you that remember Will Pounder, the male porn star. And she also is a porn star. So there's a lot of interesting things to talk to her about. She's also a health coach. So if you have questions about that, I don't know why I never thought about doing these little recaps at the end of shows and pimping out future episodes.
This is perfect. This is perfect.
Idea.
Like if we do like at the recap of the last month, and then have this go into the next month where you're talking about everything that's coming out, this is perfect.
Yeah,
I think.
Ooh, and I can clip it out, throw it on Instagram by itself. See,
like,
my
hey,
goal,
this is what's going on.
My goal is to get just like one person who's like, man, I love your show. I'm going to do your social media for you. Like I need a young Jamie so badly.
Yeah, that's the trick, is finding people that have the motivation to want to learn into something and they want to grow with it.
Yeah.
Most people will want to skip the little stuff and I want an internship with
Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan, and I'm not going to accept anything else. I'm like, well, let me tell you how you get in front of Joe Rogan. You bring another podcast up to like notoriety, you're going to get in with that. So the last topic I think we should cover this is the question of the month for March. What is your over under? And I know I'm not getting that right, whatever. 2, when Kamala Harris is going to be president. I say it's going to be before they hit the year mark.
So before they hit the year mark from right now, or are we talking about the year mark of
inauguration?
No, see, I think that they need to keep the facade. Oh shit, we didn't get to talk about the press conference.
Oh, we can talk about it real quick right now, because that's what I'm basing it off of.
Okay. So we'll get back to the question in just a minute. So I guess that was like a mid wrap. That was just a plug section that we did.
Section. So,
I just did my plugs in the middle.
This is the ending question or topic.
Oh no, this is the
final thought,
post credit scene.
Yeah.
It's the best part of every Marvel movie.
Yeah. This is the part that leads into whatever happens next.
Press conference. So now to talk about Biden's first press conference, you have to address the fact that it is the longest period of time that any modern president has gone without doing a public press conference. I wonder why that could be. But the hilariosity of it, and the guy didn't get a hardball question until about 45 minutes in. I thought that was hilarious and very telling of the difference that the media is treating this administration than the previous. Now, I'm going to go on record saying I wasn't doing a weekly podcast when Trump was president, but I am sure that if I was, I would be criticizing him just as much. You need to realize I am not a conservative. I am not a Republican. I am anti-bullshit. That is what I am. And the fact that we had our president who had already gotten most of these questions, had his answers written down clearly.
Absolutely.
It was the weakest way to show, like, to put him out into the world for the first time by himself, essentially.
Yeah.
It was the weakest showing that we could have possibly ever had. The guy literally was asked a question about gun control, which I am totally against. But if you're for gun control, then fucking say it. And all he did was say, well, there are some things that are important. There are some things that get pushed back. And what we're going to be announcing pretty soon is our entire rebuilding of the infrastructure. What? Did you just answer a question about gun control with an answer about rebuilding the infrastructure? And then 2 days later, actually, I think it was about a week later, finding out that this groundbreaking infrastructure bill is really only about, I think was it $4 trillion over the span of 10 years.
It's something ridiculous.
After we just, in a matter of months, made not litigation, legislation for 1.9 trillion, all for this year, for 2021.
Yeah.
Does nobody see anything wrong with that?
No, just keep spending. Like, why wouldn't you keep spending? I mean, they're just gonna print money. Like, we'll be fine. We'll be fine.
That's the funniest thing is that the people don't understand. I mean, the dollar isn't backed by anything anymore. So in all honesty, there's really no downside to just printing off money like crazy. Why not just keep it going?
As long as people keep using it. The only thing we have to worry about is, I don't know, another more stable currency taking the place of the dollar.
That keeps growing in value by the day.
That grows in value, that the government has strong control over, that also does a lot of shipping and a lot of shipping out products. And so other foreign currencies come into that, thus boosting the value of that specific currency. Like, I mean, if there was a situation where that was a worry,
if there was a situation where there's entire countries are putting their money into said currency, that
I'm just saying, like, who knows?
Let's stop beating around the bush. Do you think that George W. Bush is going to stop making paintings of people that he killed? I'm just kidding.
That's for me. That's like over here. I'm gonna have to go Google this now. Is George W. Bush like painting people that he kills?
There was a little while ago, like there was a profile done on him that was like all focusing on his paintings, and they were all brown people, and so the people that were attacking him just went and said that all he does with his time is paint portraits of people that he murdered in the Middle East.
That's messed up,
but
accurate.
I liked making whenever I say beat around the bush, I like to make a sex joke or a presidential joke. But what was the actual bush that I wanted to beat around? That's it. There, I figured it out. Do you think that Bitcoin is the world currency that we've heard?
I'm having such a hard time with. Yeah, I'm having such a hard time with Bitcoin. Like, I see where it could be the value in it is that it's no government has control over it. But then the risk for me is that, as we've seen from 2020 and all that, it's really only has value because the mob gives it value. The mob being people. The minute people shift, then the value in that currency goes completely to nothing.
Yeah.
So to me, that makes it more susceptible to influences from the market than any other currency, because the government can have control over it. We can, the government can make legislation. They can stop shipping they can stop stuff like that. So that's what makes me nervous about Bitcoin, is that it's not owned by anybody. And when stuff's not owned by anybody, people tend to not care about things as much. And so the security of it is what concerns me about investing in it. I don't invest in Bitcoin, so obviously I don't get behind it, but maybe that's just because I don't understand it enough.
Yeah, I was really close to taking all of my stimulus money and putting it in Bitcoin, which, I mean, obviously isn't a lot.
You buy like a quarter of a Bitcoin, so that's pretty good.
That's not a quarter of a Bitcoin.
I don't know how much is Bitcoin right now.
When I got my stimulus, it was sitting at like 54,000. And I think it's now sitting at 62,000
per coin.
Yeah.
Yeah,
$62,000 per Bitcoin. Let me look at it right now. Stocks.
Could you imagine if you actually did Bitcoin mining like way back when it first came out? That's all you did.
So when I got my stimulus, it was right around 52. Yeah. No, it was a little bit about 54. And right now it's sitting at about 60. It was 62 just the other day or something like that.
It's funny. I remember people making fun of people that invested in Bitcoin around the time of that solar eclipse. Did you ever hear about that guy that made all those he sold the solar eclipse glasses, the little plastic ones?
Yeah.
Online. He made he's a young kid, like maybe 19. He made like $250,000, took all that money, bought nothing but Bitcoin. And everyone was like, and that's when Bitcoin dived. I hope he kept it.
Oh, I hope he did too, because that means he bought it in 16.
Around then. Yeah. Right
So
around
let's
16.
take a look at so in 2016, Bitcoin averaged, I'm looking at the average right now. It averaged between 420 blaze up and 1,000. No, it just shy of 1,000. So it went from 420 in March to just shy of $1,000 on the December 26th. So if he would have bought, if he put all of his money into Bitcoin, so you said he made like $200,000.
Yeah. So let's say $200,000. I'm just doing some quick Excel math here.
Divided by, what did I say it was? 420. We'll give him on the low end, so 420. So that would be 476 Bitcoin, and then you multiply that by the current valuation of 59,000. Actually, we'll just go ahead and round up to 60 times 60,000.
60,000.
He would have a cool $28 million. Alex Jones was given and this is actually fact checked. He was given a hard drive with 1,000 Bitcoin on it in I want to say 2011 or 2012. And yeah, he lost it. He has no idea where it is. There's I don't remember where I saw.
Someone knows where it is. I'm sorry. Someone knows where that thing is.
That's and Alex Jones is another interesting one when talking about censorship. He is an interesting fella, but he did a podcast with a comedian. His name is Andrew Schultz. He has a podcast called Flagrant 2, and it was exactly how it sounds. Flagrant. Like they told him, when you come on here, we're not going to fact check anything you say. Like they just rolled with it. It was such a comedic, like, it was a joke, and Alex was in on the joke, and it was great. Like, one of the guys was like, I did not want to have this man on the podcast, but I knew that it was going to drive viewership, and so I did it anyways. And I ended up liking the guy. Like, I like him. I like him as a human being. He is so charismatic. He's the most successful comedian who has never done comedy, is what he said. and it's true. Like, Alex Jones is in on the joke, and the people that are constantly trying to silence him, they're not in on the joke. And that's the funny thing about it.
Yeah. Alex Jones is
I don't know how we got back to censorship again, but
I don't know, Bull. It's a hot topic, but yeah. So kind of closing it out with
so the over under. So I'll finish off with a quick explanation of what over under is. So the over under is when you're setting a point, and then people get to choose whether it's over or under that point.
Well, the point was a year mark of, what's it called? It's the over under. What's everyone thinking the over under is?
Well, no, that is the over under. So do you think it's going to be over or under is the problem? Because the over under is you set that line to 1.
Yeah.
To 1 year.
1 year.
So it's just a matter of how you say it. And don't get me wrong. I get your frustration that you're feeling right now with me, because my wife feels it with me all the time because she's like, you know what I mean, asshole. I'm like, I do know what you mean, but if I wasn't as intelligent as I am, I might not. And that's not my fault.
Yeah.
But I think that it will be, like I said, I think it will be longer. I think they need to keep the illusion of strength that they
doing a great job,
because they honestly believe that he is a bastion of strength. Like the mainstream, obviously the left media was was praising him for what he did in this press conference when he did nothing. It was
just the BS that came out of the press. Like, that was probably one of the more alarming things. Like, sure, criticize Trump and like be bashing on everything about him, but the blazant BS that came out of that press conference, like commanding and all that stuff. I'm like, were you even at the press conference? Like, nothing about what that guy was doing was commanding.
He literally lost his train of thought and said, never mind.
Yeah, you know, whatever. and like, he was bringing out like policy points. He had to pull out of his notes to talk about his policy points. Like, to me, that tells me they're not his policy points, and he's effing old. Like,
and you know, I have like let go of, I never had disdain for him, but I felt like it was kind of what, you know, like we were talking about before, like that's kind of how I felt that people were trying to make me feel. They were trying to make me feel disdain for this man, but I don't. I feel bad for him. I honestly do.
Feel. Like, I actually kind of like him.
I feel like he's the grandpa that he's losing his mind. And I am not saying this to be rude. I am not saying this to attack him. I am doing this, or I am saying this because I feel like what the Democratic Party is doing is wrong.
Yeah.
And they are going to prop up their puppet for, I think the sweet spot is around the 2-year mark. Just to keep that, to be able, because they've already said how strong of a leader he is. They've already said all this stuff. And so they have to keep on that. They have to toe that line for a while. And then they can start shifting to, oh no, Uncle Joe is starting to lose it. We need Kamala to step in, and that is how I see it going down.
Maybe by changing the official name of the administration to the Biden-Harris administration and not the Biden administration. To me, that's like, boom, that's branding right there. They're already shifting in my opinion. So that's why I'm saying it's going to be before that year mark, because they're already like, we got to speed this up. Like, we're going to call it the Biden-Harris administration now. This is not a campaign thing. This is the brand that goes out to the world. This is our president, Biden-Harris. And don't get me wrong. Like, I'm with you. Like, if Biden was running against Trump in 2016, I would have voted for Biden. I actually liked Biden back then, and I still like him. I just don't think he's the right guy for the job. I think that he was the only guy that they could get in that they could completely control, that had enough name recognition where they could get people to vote for him. And he wasn't Bernie Sanders, because Bernie Sanders they can't control Bernie. Yeah, they can, and they can't control him. Yeah, like he'll play their game when he wants to, when he's like, okay, I'll play your game. But other than that, he's like, screw you, Democrats, I'm a socialist. And I kind of like that about Bernie. I mean, honestly, he's been so consistent with that. But anyways, getting back to Joe Biden, I feel like it's going to be before the year's out, because I'm just watching. They're flying on. That's the vice president and the president are now doing trips on the same plane together. That's a big no-no.
Never happened, yeah.
Because you have two planes for a reason, because it's
checks and balances.
But I don't think the man's doing anything on his plane rides. Like, I don't think he's working anymore. I don't think he's doing anything. I think he's just hanging out in the White House. They come in, he does a really quick talk, like says a few things, and then he's like putting back on his mask, all like weird, like what? And he walks off the stage.
My favorite thing about this administration has been the proof of what I always kind of assumed, is that the first press secretary is always a joke. Because Sean Spicer, man, I feel bad for that guy, because he was always like given this shit, and they're like, all right, spin it into gold. Yeah. And he was like, okay.
It's like, how am I supposed to do this?
And then now you have circle back lady. I don't even know her name. Jen
Podesky. Well, she's the one that ran out and said white supremacy in the shooting right off the bat too. So I'm like, oh great, we have a White House press secretary that circles back on everything, but she is able to make claims without evidence just because she's partisan as hell and she wants to infuriate people.
It's Jen Psaki with a silent P at the beginning. That's her name.
Psaki. Anyways. Yeah. So that's right. So we'll come back in a year and we'll see that I'm right when we're having the first female president, which will be kind of cool. Although I'm not a big fan of Harris. I could have been almost any woman other than Harris that was running for president at the time. I would have even taken, what's her name? The lady that lied about being Native American.
Gosh, Elizabeth Warren.
Elizabeth Warren. I would have even been like, oh, okay, Elizabeth Warren. I'm okay with it. But he was just,
or as Trump called her, Pocahontas.
I'm sorry. Trump was great at branding other people.
Oh, Lion Ted.
Crooked Hillary. Like he would.
Oh, what was it? He had something for Marco. He had, and then Jeb Marco. Was Sleepy. Was it Sleepy Jed?
I think Sleepy Jed. And then
no, Sleepy Joe. Sleepy Joe.
Sleepy Joe for Joe Biden.
What was Jed?
One was Lion Ted, Little Marco. Yeah. Also, Trump stole the term fake news from Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton was the first one to say, this is fake news, and she started using it on our campaign. Trump stole it and then used it for absolutely everything, and then the term fake news meant absolutely nothing. He's smart.
Oh my goodness. So I just Googled, what did I Google? I Googled best Trump nicknames. There's an entire Wikipedia article titled List of Nicknames Used by Donald Trump. So we're going to go through, this is going to be, oh my goodness, I can't go through all of these. We'll have to pick a few of my favorites. So for Joe Biden, there's quite a bit. 1% Joe, Basement Biden, Beijing Biden, China Joe, Corrupt Joe, Crazy Joe Biden, Quid Pro Joe, Sleepy Joe, Sleepy Creepy Joe, Slow Joe, and Joe Hayden, Michael Bloomberg, Little Michael, Mini Mike Bloomberg. Moving down. We got Jeb Bush, Low Energy Jeb. That's what it was.
Oh my gosh, this is freaking gold.
Liz Cheney, the warmonger. Bill Clinton, Wild Bill. Hillary Clinton, Crazy Hillary, Heartless Hillary, Crooked Hillary, Lion Hillary, Skank Hillary. James Comey, Sanctimonious James, Leakin' James, Lion James, Shady James, Slippery James, Slimeball James, Ted Cruz. We got Beautiful Ted. I don't know where he used that one, but it was he's not Lion Ted anymore. He's Beautiful Ted. It was said in 2018. But before that, he was Lion Ted, and then he was Texas Ted. Where's another good one? Let's see. Kamala Harris. We got Phony Kamala and Monster Harris. I don't know what the monster thing.
He started getting kind of bad at nicknames near the end of the presidency.
His writers got lazy.
Yeah. Oh, he has writers? Are you kidding me?
Of course he has writers.
I know he has writers.
We got what the hell?
Some of these are just great. Crazy Jim Acosta, Sloppy Steve, Cutie Pie, Jonathan Carl,
Beto O'Rourke, Dummy Beto, the failure. Rand Paul, truly weird Senator Rand Paul. Ooh, here's a good one. Nancy Pelosi, crazy, high tax, high crime. MS-13 lover, Nancy. That's her name, so that is what it is.
Well, no, I remember when he said Nancy, he said like it was significant. He's like, Nancy, I call her Nancy. Like it's something insult. It's like
yeah, Nancy as I call her.
Yeah. It's like that's her name.
The Here, I gotta show this because it's so much funnier if you see it. So if you're listening to this, you're not getting half of the comedic value out of this.
Oh, you're
But
really missing
for
out.
Nancy Pelosi, if you go and hover over here, Trump crashes into nickname wall. Nancy, as I call her. Although I'm gonna say right now, my favorite is Nancy Antoinette.
Nancy Antoinette was really good, especially when she did that video from her kitchen. Do you remember that at all?
No, I never saw it.
So she does this video during like the height of COVID and talking about how it's tough, but we just got to stay home. And she's taking people through like a video of her taking her through her like thousands of dollar of refrigerator, like this huge refrigerator. And she's pulling out her chocolate bars and all that. And I'm like, this woman is so freaking disconnected that she's showing how great she has it. And she's like, it's so tough, but I'm just eating ice cream. And it's like, if she was on the right and the media was on her, she would have been ripped apart for that. Just that alone. That's why it's funny.
Stephen Colbert, that guy on CBS.
that's
so funny.
It's a good one.
Chris
Papa
Cuomo, Fredo. I forgot about that one.
Oh, yeah.
That's like calling an Italian the N-word. No, it's not, because I can say Fredo. I can't say the N-word. Like there was a comedian that had a joke. It was saying midget is like saying the N-word, and it's like, no, it's not, because you just said midget, but you didn't say the N-word. Oh, well, I think that is a good a dropping point. So make sure to tune in for the January 2022 recap show, where we celebrate Ira's success or failure of the prediction of when Kamala takes over the presidency.
I'm so happy when my female president is in place.
But yeah, this one went all over the place. It was super fun. It was funny. Like I said, got a lot of good stuff coming up. Check my Instagram, TheJustinEXP. If you want to run my social media for this show, I'll get a Instagram and Twitter and all that for just the show, but I can barely keep up with my own social media. So until somebody wants to come in and handle that for me, it's just going to have to be me personally that you're going to have to reach out to. But is there anything that you want to plug, Ira?
No, man. I'm just plugging away.
I'm just trying to keep this away from my professional life as much as possible.
Yeah, seriously, could you not use my name? That would be great, because I'm sure with the whole, gorilla in the room comment, now I'm really worried that I'm going to run for like governor or something like that. And so let's look up Ira. And then I'm like, crap, that one time on a podcast, I said gorilla in the room when talking about a black person. I wasn't even referring to a black person. Damn it.
And that will be what really blows my podcast up and really gets me a following, is just your running for office.
My running for office, and then on a little known podcast, and then all of a sudden you're bigger than Joe Rogan.
Oh man, well, this is fun. All right.
Good times, man.
Well, this just in, the show that isn't normally a news show, but this time we talked only about political. I guess this was less of a news show and more of a political rambling show. It was a lot like your uncles just talking around a campfire that you're like, oh, okay, all right, Bill, if you say so. But I think we made some good points, and we had laughs. We had a lot of laughs. Like, my face hurts from laughing, and because of the hurt, I'm gonna use Just Live CBD.
Ooh.
It is 750 milligrams pain relief cream.
Crap.
Not an actual sponsor, but they want on one of the websites that we own, so they sent us some free product.
They could be a sponsor.
They could be a sponsor. I am not above using my professional life to advance my personal life. So I will probably be reaching out to some of these CBD companies to bridge that gap. I'm like, hey, podcasting's where it's all at. Who cares if there's only 100 people that listen?
Those 100 people could be buying $100 worth of gummies each week.
Each person each week. It's all about micro influencers, bro. But yeah, that's it for the March recap of this just in. We will see you next time, and you will see Ira again with me for the recap of April. We get to talk about how much money we spend in taxes.
Yay.
All right. Well, thanks everybody. We will see you next time. Remember, I don't have a sign off. Never mind. Peace out.
I'm sorry, Mom.